It's the World Series of Sim Racing here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
No contact.
And some contact holds on for now. It's Vincent Soracali's gonna be able to hold on. 3 wide, 2 wide. Ryan Bird trying to be the hero. He'll door smack once again in the center of the corner. Figure out how to get out of the way. Vinny breaks him. He breaks him across the line. The 15 wins. One last chance, one last opportunity. He's digging, he's climbing, he's right on the bumper. Blocking gonna be made. Will there be contact? Here comes Thompson. Check on the outside. We're gonna be blocked, defended. Brian Johnson hoping and will win. Here comes Vincent Soar to the inside, but it's not enough. Brian Johnson wins, and it's gonna be the 13th trying his best. He'll hold on, or will he cross the line? It's Cedric Hunter by a nose. Gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Wednesday tonight. We give you the great race of the WSSR Cup Series as we find ourselves starting a brand new round. It's the round of 11 as it's our first race of 2 before we figure out the 6 drivers that will race for a championship in 2 weeks. It's going to be a fun one as tonight we start the round off at Charlotte, the Charlotte Oval, and you can see the drivers are finishing up practice, just a minute and 20 seconds left. But this race is going to be a tough one. Drivers talking about how it's tight, driving into the corner, it's loose out, and the temps are high. We'll see if the tempers get raised a little bit this evening. But once again, we're happy to give you the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth is going to be Justin Malarkey. Justin, coming off of the last round, our first round of the playoffs for Season 9, had to eliminate 5 drivers, but now we're down to 11, and every single one of these 11 drivers really feel like they've got a chance to win the championship still.
Well, they do, because they are in it, and that's going to be the most important thing, Sam, tonight, getting that really good points night, maybe getting a win, advancing to the next round. That's always the easiest. Only one driver will be able to do that tonight, but Charlotte, 1.5 mile track, that traditional cookie cutter style track. This might be one of those races where we really see who's going to have that speed to make it to the end, and this could be a track similar to Las Vegas, which will be the season finale.
As drivers are getting themselves prepared for tonight's race, heard a lot of voices that this track is tough. It feels a little bit different. And also what makes it tough is some drivers have a lot of unknowns. How is this race car going to be changed from last week? The reason why, this week we had updates. It's the season, it's the week 13 of the season in iRacing, which this is usually the week that iRacing drops a lot of new updates and revamps the system, bringing in new cars, changing vehicles, and just making those small little adjustments, sometimes massive adjustments. But for this go around, looks like it's a small adjustment for the next gen cars, where they changed out some of the paint, so the metallic colors are going to be a little bit brighter for these drivers, as well as they changed some small things about the damage model. We'll see if we see any of those changes while the drivers are racing here tonight and get into any wrecks, and also some small new setup changes that have happened throughout some of the tracks that iRacing runs. But you're seeing the drivers hitting qualifying, where they're going to have 2 laps to put down their fastest time, but only 5 minutes to do so. And you're seeing already a little bit of what we call cheesing, trying to get all the advantage you can. It's Aaron Smith II. Some drivers get away with it. We miss sometimes little moments that they try to get advantages to get that little bit of extra speed. But Justin, we saw there, Smith, he's looking to find that extra little bit of temperature to help out these tires here tonight.
Yeah, trying to warm up the tires there, but you have to understand coming out of there so slow is going to hurt his get up to speed lap here. So I don't anticipate this first lap really being at full speed. So I would imagine he's only going to really get that second lap, and for him, he's going to hope that that second lap will be what gets it done. But it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But Charlotte, look at us running the middle line through 1 and 2. I think tonight will be really exciting for us to watch and see if drivers are running up high, in the middle, down low. Right now he's choosing to run at higher line, trying to gain as much speed as he can.
Trying to run the outside lane, but through 3 and 4, it is extremely loose up there, especially on these colder tires. But Aaron Smith II going to be putting down some of our first laps so far. We'll see how quick this second lap's going to be for the 70 machine. But first lap already the fastest of the 6 drivers to put down the time. 70 will be a 300s, almost 400ths of a second faster than Brian McCann as Ken Campbell tops the board. But you're seeing here dropping to the bottom, trying to minimize the amount of distance you're running, as well as trying to carry as much speed off the exit of the corner is going to be Smith. And now across the line, Aaron Smith II, with all the advantages he tried to aim for, was it enough for the top of the board? And it looks like it is for now. It's a 30.719 for Aaron Smith II, and that's faster than Gavin Rogers, who's been the master at the poles this season.
The 70, maybe he figures something out, sacrificed that first lap, but got a little bit of heat in the tires. Now we're going to see what Danny Cochran can do here to number 2. He's choosing to run down low, down his back straightaway. Now he's going to blend up high, shaking the car around, trying to get some speed in. It looks like he's also probably going to be throwing away this first lap here.
Trying to set up, get that speed, get the tires warmed up. Shocking drivers are up front here qualifying early, as the first half of the field has already finished most of their qualifying times. It's Aaron Smith II, Joshua Kanata, Gavin Rogers, Vincent Sora, and then shockingly in 5th, it's going to be Christopher Wade, who have found a little bit of extra speed, but there are still some fast drivers to watch out for. Fastest during practice, Brian P. Johnson still waiting for their first couple of laps to be clocked in. Larry Yingling, who's also a past winner of this race, he's going to be still waiting for their time. And most of the Lucky Duck drivers, as Danny Cochran goes off track, breaks loose, and that's what we're going to see a lot here tonight, snapping loose off the exit of turn 4. And for Danny, first lap invalidated, second lap probably not going to be there. The 2 is going to be sent to the end of the line, starting with this run here this evening. That's going to be a tough start for Cochran as Tom Sinchek gets top of the board.
Tom Sinchek, first driver to get underneath that 7, 30.696. But look at that, Brian P. Johnson, you talked about him being fast in practice. He lays down at 30.708, going to knock Aaron Smith back to the 3rd position. Joshua Kanata still in 4th. Right here, Shane up high, running way up in the wall. Looks like maybe even touched it there. Could that invalidate this lap?
This will be his first lap. So for the 9 machine, again, just trying to build up that momentum, build up the speed. But if you graze the wall, you hope that it's not going to add any aero damage for yourself, as 9 machine already showing a little bit of looseness. And the comfortability and the strength of Shane Tarrant here tonight. He's racing just for victory, got knocked out of the playoffs last round. And so the 9 coming in with a little bit more edge and hoping to get into victory lane, and not a lot of worry of how am I going to perform, maximizing points. It's all about the win for this 9 machine, as Cedric Hunter is going to bounce up into 2nd position. Ryan Kelly also going to be a threat here tonight. He'll be in 6th. Batarian hoping on the 2nd lap with John Forbes Jr. Both going to be on their 2nd lap. We'll see how much they can climb on this board with only 15 seconds left. Tarian gets his lap in, and the 9 from 26th position only up to 10th. And for going to be the 11 of John Forbes, he's going to be right on the edge of trying to get his lap time in, but will not be able to do so. So our pole sitter is the 26 of Tom Sinchek.
Wow, the 26 with a nice lap, going to be leading them to green. Going to have that front row clean air. He'll be looking to lead the first lap and take over. He's been a driver that we've been talking about a lot lately, seems on his broadcast.
I mean, he's someone who was hoping for a good round or a good race last week to make the next round of the playoffs. Missed out on that opportunity. He comes in tied in 12th, but we'll take a look here at the point standings as well as how this season's rolling as we enter our warm-up section. 5 minutes for these drivers to get any last little bit of practice in, figure out where their pit stalls are, and for us to take a closer look at the point standings as we've got drivers coming into tonight. Only our top 11 still in the playoffs, and that's going to be seeing Gavin Rogers, Vincent Sora, Zach Hall, Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling, Drew Jua, John Forbes, Cedric Hunter, Brian Johnson, Joshua Kanata, and Aaron Smith II. The 11 drivers still on the hunt to grab the Season 9 championship, and just grabbing the pole and missing out onto this round. Tom Sinchek, Shane Tarian, Brian McCann, Edward Sherwood Jr., and Trent Jump being the 5 drivers eliminated from last week's race and from the playoffs. Justin, honestly, all drivers in our top 11, like I said at the top of the broadcast, have a chance for this championship, but there are a couple of drivers I would say kind of shockingly they're in. Joshua Kanata, the biggest underdog of them all, kind of the Cinderella story of this season, and was last season when he made the championship race.
And he's continuing to show tonight that he feels like he deserves to be in there because he's putting down some good laps in qualifying and have a good position tonight to start. But that whole left side of that screen, I mean, look at the drivers on there. Shockingly, look at the drivers below the cutoff, though. Like you said, got the pole sitter there in 12th. And 13th, 14th, 15th, I feel like those are 3 drivers all season that we talked about multiple times. Just strong drivers, but not in the final 11. Even when you look at some of the drivers on the right side, names that we see run up inside the top 10, still not able to advance into that final 11 drivers. I mean, that just shows how big this league has gotten.
Absolutely incredible, as only 16 drivers made the playoffs. Everyone else missed out, and we are now entering the round of 11. This round going to be 2 races as we take a look at our schedule, and we've seen a lot of different winners. Last week we got to see Ryan Kelly get into victory lane for the 3rd time this season. He's been on a tear in this second half of the season for himself. But this round that we're entering, we have Charlotte here tonight, then Richmond. Justin, 2 tracks very known to all of these drivers, probably the most traditional of short track and a 1.5 mile course we're going to.
Oh, Charlotte, I feel like probably one of the tracks that everyone here tonight probably has some of the most laps turned of any tracks out there. Just seems like Charlotte's always on the schedule, especially if you run that Coke 600. But then we'll be going to Richmond next week, and that alone will be really interesting, just being a little short track race. But going right back to another short track, North Wilkesboro, to start it off for that final round, and then Las Vegas, which will be pretty much, I think, if you're good at Charlotte tonight, you probably have a good chance to be somewhat decent at Las Vegas, being 1.5 mile higher bank type of track. So it'll be interesting tonight who can show that speed.
Who's going to have the speed, and here are going to be some of the drivers we have on our radar that we believe could have some speed here tonight. With the way the setups have been, there's a few drivers I've got a note in the back of my mind, but the driver I picked as my pick'em, I'm going with the 11 machine of John Forbes. John has looked very consistent at 1.5 mile courses, and I've got a feeling the driving style we're going to have to see here tonight, watch out for that 11. Try to be up front at the end of the day. And Justin, what do you have on your pick'em for this evening?
Well, I was going with the 32 of Zach Hall. I think he's going to be a driver to watch tonight. I think he's one of these drivers that has the speed, but more importantly, lately he's got that momentum there, Sam. It just seems like he's coming to the top.
Still hunting for that first ever championship for Zach Hall, who's got the most starts of anyone in this series, a true veteran of the WSSR. We'll see how well Zach runs. And then we head over to the 3rd person that's part of our group. That will be Robert Moyer Jr. running productions in the background, and his pick going to be the 28 of Brian P. Johnson. It's the fastest during practice, has looked fast in the past here at Charlotte, and actually won the season 4 race here at Charlotte in a very dominant fashion. See if Brian can get it done here tonight. Some other quick drivers that have won in the past. Larry Yingling, 2-time winner of this race. He won back in season 2 when they were running in the Gen 6 car, and season 7 in the Gen 4. We'll see if here tonight maybe a little bit of more magic can be found for the 67. Also, Cedric Hunter, a past winner of this race back in season 5, the last time that they ran in these Gen 7 machines. We'll see if maybe Cedric's got a little bit of extra something. And then Brian McCann, the last driver to win last season here at Charlotte. As we finish up the warm-up, we're finished up with practice and qualifying. That means we are heading to tonight's race. Charlotte, 150 laps, stage break at the end of lap 35. 0 fast repairs and only 4 extra sets of tires in pit road to work with. tonight's race. Expecting to have over 32 drivers racing here tonight. Going to be 33 registered. We'll see if all of them hit the course. As top of the board, it's going to be the 26 of Tom Sinchek. Cedric Hunter will start in second. Ryan P. Johnson will start in third. Larry Yingling in fourth. There are going to be 3 past winners of this race, all in that little bit of selection. Then in fifth, we find Aaron Smith, the second top bottom of the board in points. Needs a solid day. Same for Joshua Kanata, going to be starting in sixth. Ryan Kelly hoping for a good day for the 3 machine. Drew Jua in eighth. Ninth is where we find Zach Hall, and finishing out our top 10, it's the 9 of Shane Terrian.
And rolling up in 11th, going to be Gavin Rogers, not on the pole tonight. 11th spot for him. Vincent Soar, P12, another fast driver. Douglas Newbigging, driver who I think will be good on these 1.5-mile tracks tonight. Ed Shearer Jr., really fast driver, coming from the 14th position. Christopher Wade in 15th, good qualifying run right there. Tom Bourne alongside in the 16th position. Brian McCann, like you said, winner from last year, rolling off in 17th. GT Irizarry in 18th position. 19th going to be Brian Noel and Ken Campbell in 20th.
In 21st, we find the 24 machine of Wally Fonseca with Richard Wolsifert there outside in 56. In 23rd position, we find the 12 of Andrew Medlin with going to be John Forbes deeper in the field for the 11 machine, with John's brother Justin Forbes going to be in 25th position for the 4. Carl Pooler will drop all the way down to 26 for the 58. Chris Ditz down in 27th. Bronson Stafford 28th. Cody Reed in 29th. Ben Kinney going to be in 30th. And our final 3 drivers, Danny Cochran, Nick Crawford, and Christopher Norris. Those bottom 3, expect them to move up into the middle of the field as this run starts up. But the big thing for this run, our first stage, only 35 laps that these drivers going to have before stage bonus points are gifted. And I'm worried about these first 35 laps. Heard that this car is very snappy loose off the exit of the corner on cold tires, and then after 10 laps, it gets snappy loose again. Curious on how that little bit of a window we're going to have from about a 3 laps into a run to 10, how many big moves we're going to see.
It'll be interesting to see who decides to really take advantage of the new tires also and maybe run up a lane higher. I feel like through turns 1 and 2, you can kind of run a little bit higher and gain some speed down that back straightaway, but do you pay that price later on? Like you said, Sam, if this car's loose, you heat up those tires, it kind of can just get worse. So you see the driver starting to roll off. I got to make a quick mention. How about Justin Forbes qualifying 25th? We talked about him being one of the newer drivers coming over here. Seems like he's consistently getting better and better, starting to qualify a little better even.
Yeah, trying to find that consistency, and it really helps when you've got a brother like John Forbes, who's one of the faster drivers, has multiple wins in this series, and is hoping to get into victory lane. Justin Forbes, that learning aspect, we love to see it from the 4 as the field stacked 2 by 2. Thank you so much to everyone that's watching tonight's broadcast. If you're ready for this race, put in the chat, who are you rooting for? Who is your driver that you want to see perform well or win this race? We know that up front, we got some drivers that are left in the playoffs. Those got knocked out. Who's got tempers or got retaliation they want to divvy out? We'll see if tonight's the night, or will we keep it calm? Pace car pulls off into pit road. Charlotte, the round of 11 is underway for the season 9 playoffs, and Cedric Hunter already going to be having trouble, a little bit of mischief. They're going to be already 3 wide, back for 4th place, trying to get back centered up, but luckily the field reacts accordingly, and it's Tom Sinchek pulling away off the exit of turn 2.
Tom Sinchek, glad he got that qualifying spot to be away from that drama. I did see one car look like kind of spun there on the front straightaway, kind of missed the fielding. They didn't come out of the turns right there yet, but we'll have to check on that. But right now, Tom Sinchek going through, going to lead this first lap. I know he's not into the top 11 for points, but this has to feel really good for him, Sam.
Yeah, the major wheel spin and driver that went off course, that's Cody Reed, who had that issue for himself. He will be 14 seconds back, but again, we do have that stage caution at lap 35, so Cody Reed should not go a lap down, but I know the rest of the field, they are all trying to settle in. Charlotte, one of the tracks that's free once you get your iRacing subscription. It's one of the most well-known tracks in iRacing when you try to get experience through all the different tier levels to get up to your A license and have the chance to run in these next-gen vehicles. And Justin, I mean, this track so well known. I feel like everyone knows almost every little bit and piece of this track, but these drivers, they got a tough task with all this dirty air and turbulence they're dealing with.
Yes, everyone knows this track. The problem with this track is I feel like both corners, they're just so long. Here we go into turn 3 and 4, and I feel like sometimes you think you can get back to the gas, you think you have the banking, and you get back to it, and you just start pushing up out of the corner, and you really start to use the tires a little bit more and more. Right now, these drivers have fresh grip, but later on in the run, you get out of there, you start coming out of turn 3 and 4, that wall can sneak up on you. Before you know it, if you turn a little bit too much, you're spinning out.
As we're looking back from Drew Joa back to Zach Paul, you can see the differences of their banner atop of the windshield. It's blue compared to black. Drivers have a blue windshield. They are a part of the playoffs still. They're still racing for a chance for the championship. A trouble further on back. We praise the driver. We commentate, curse them. It's Justin Forbes going for a ride off the exit of turn 2.
Oh, lap 4, lap 5, right here, Justin Forbes going really slow. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Check this replay right here. Looks like he's on the inside under Nick Crawford.
The driver to watch out for is going to be the 2 of Danny Cochran behind the 4. Gets a run, drifts up, comes back down, just clips the 4. And Justin trying to save it, but overcorrects too many times and drifts into the grass. Luckily able to stay off the wall. That is, talk about learning experience. Hey, Justin did a great job keeping it off the wall, even with all the slipping and sliding he had to deal with there.
Yeah, great job. Just not really. Was that looked like it was on the back straightaway there? Like something happened?
Oh, it was Danny Cochran coming off it too. Got tight, bounced off the wall, came down, and that's where he got clipped in the 4.
And now it looks like we're going to be under the yellow conditions here now.
We certainly are. As the field, some decided to make this hard decision. Do you come into pit road for tires or repairs? I know some drivers got into the outside wall, some got into one another, and maybe you want to assess, is there damage that you're dealing with? These drivers have 4 extra sets of tires in pit road, and we only ran 3 laps of green flag racing there. Justin, I don't know if taking tires would be the call to make, but there's some drivers that may think about taking tires and see if there's any small advantage there with just a 3-lap difference.
I would be very hesitant to use a set of tires right now, being only 6 laps in. Maybe one day if iRacing ever gives you back that set of tires for scuffs with 5 or 6 laps on it, that would be interesting. But right now, don't think I would want to use that set of tires.
Looks like one driver will use a set. That's going to be Chris Stitz in the 17. Going to be taking us right sides. He actually takes all 4 for himself on pit stop. So shockingly, wasn't expecting to see a driver take tires, but the 17 is going to be our control vehicle to watch out as he tries to climb through the field. And if it's possible to do so, this is a very big field we're dealing with. 33 drivers took the green. Justin Forbes still in pit road getting repairs done for himself, but Stitz will start all the way back in 31st position. A lot of work to try to climb up to where he would like to be, but when he was starting back in 27th, lose a couple of positions here or there. It's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, it will be fun for us to watch also and be a good learning experience for us up here in the booth. How much spots can he make up and see what those tires end up doing for him? Maybe he can get inside the top 10 and see how that works out for him. It'll definitely be something we'll keep an eye on here as we're getting ready to start lap 7, expecting to go green next time by. So we'll still have roughly about 26 potential green flag laps.
It's going to be a quick look around. I think, it's going to be only just 20 odd laps. We're going to see how these drivers can take off here. Lap 35 is our stage break. At the end of that lap, the yellow flag will be thrown by our race control, as Steve Benjamin has been doing so all season long. Trouble for one of the drivers, though, Christopher Norris, having to pull off and disconnect from the server. So the 38 having his troubles. We'll see if Christopher Norris comes back on track or if he's going to go with a simple start and park for tonight's race. So we'll leave us with a total of 31 drivers on the lead lap. Total of 32 that'll be on course, as Forbes did get back on course just 1 lap down. But up front, led by Tom Sinchek and Brian Johnson. Sinchek's going to be on the outside in the red, black, and white machine in the 26. The 28 on the inside, that's going to be Brian Johnson. Here we go. This is going to be the launch to see who can really take off well middle of the field. The scares are still there. Saw some wheel spin on the initial launch, and we'll see if there's any wheel spin here as we are green. And up front, huge launch for Kanata as well for Tom Sinchuk on the outside. Rest of the field looking a little bit stalled out there.
Yeah, it seems like Charlotte sometimes has that wheel spin issue. See a car like they're blinking, kind of got up in the air, had my heart beating for a second, but Josh Kanata's going to be trying to roll that outside line, see what he can do down this back straightaway. Tom Sinchuk going to continue to leave it. Brian P. Johnson in the hunt, now up to second position.
Yeah, Johnson, Yingling, as well as Smith trying to get their way forward. Cedric Hunter's now going to climb into 5th position to the 13, and it's looking to be our top 8 trying to gap themselves away from Zach Hall that's gotten single-filed with Douglas Newbigging, but up front, there's your pack of 8, then the rest of the field scattered, but it's 2 by 2 from 2nd back to 8th position. They continue to stay like that as Tom Sinchuk trying to look like he's super speedway racing, controlling both lanes on the straightaway.
Trying to keep those drivers behind side by side, but the 16, we kind of talked about it, Sam. Maybe using that second line up there, not right on the bottom, running that little bit higher line. He's getting the momentum off the corners. Will he pay the price later on? He might not care. Knowing we got that caution to pull the laps down, maybe he feels these tires are going to last for the next 25 laps before that stage. He's going to clear Brian P. Johnson and move in his second spot to 16. Joshua Kanata in pursuit now with Tom Sinchuk the leader.
Once the lead 11, it's a huge bonus point to grab it. We were just riding on board with Aaron Smith II, and the one thing I'm most impressed by why riding on board the 70, there's a little bit of counter steer off the exit of the corner. They're feeling that looseness, but it's everywhere else on the track. This steering wheel looking so stable at this moment. Entering the corner, really trying to slow down, utilize the brakes and throttle to really corner your way through, but everywhere else, it looks so steady until he gets that apex where he's really putting the throttle down.
Yeah, that's some good feedback right here. Trying to show these drivers on board, the viewers on board right there, exactly what these drivers are doing. It looks smooth, but definitely can promise out there they're doing everything with their feet to keep these cars nice and smooth. Sometimes you work the throttle just as much as the steering wheel, especially on these 1.5 mile tracks. And the number 70 right there was showing these viewers really how the job is done.
And to the lead, we got to move up there because Joshua Kanata is making a move on the outside. He wants to lead this race. And I talked to Kanata. There was not a lot of confidence entering tonight. Really trying to practice, figure out how this track was going to react, and realized pretty early on that it was going to be a lot of brakes, trying to find that right brake bias and when you want to throttle up. But early points, lap led by the 16. Kanata going to be finding himself with the lap led bonus point, and now if he wants, he can back out of this and kind of ride behind the 26, but looks like for Kanata, he wants those big stage bonus points that could really be crucial to help him out going into Richmond next week.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what he's thinking, Sam. Give me those bonus points. I want them. But he might also be thinking to win. But they're going to make contact there. The 26 to 16, they definitely contact again. They're leaning on each other. Brian P. Johnson right now is going to have a massive run. Where's he going to go? Inside. He's going to try and will he make it 3 wide? That's going to be the big question. He's not going to do it. He's going to think better of it. But now these drivers look like they're at Talladega for sure.
Already major, not major, but one driver already dealing with an issue here tonight. That's Ben Keeney. Again, today was the big iRacing update. We knew connection issues could blip up this evening with drivers being kicked out of the race. Ben Keeney, his whole entire game crashed for the 98. His night's done. Before the lead, still riding on top of one another. Joshua Kanata's got to be a little slightly frustrated about this. He's running well on the outside, but this is burning up his tires as well as he's racing a non-playoff driver. Tom Sinchuk's racing for just the win. Kanata racing for a chance to make the championship round. Also blinking issues for Ryan Kelly on the outside. One of our playoff contenders. He got bounced out during practice with connection issues. He's worried that he could be seeing his game crash if he's not careful with those blinks continuing to rage on. As still side by side for the lead position is Joshua Kanata, Tom Sinchuk, and again, like I said before, this is looking very similar to pack racing. These guys are just riding on top of one another side by side through this whole entire course.
Sometimes I wonder if we're at Charlotte or are we at the new Atlanta. It looks very similar out there the way they're putting on this show right now, but how long can it last? Right now the caution will be coming out in 14, 15 some laps, give or take, lap 35. I don't anticipate them being able to go another 5 or 10 more laps like this, but right now, who knows? They might prove us wrong. But like you said, the 16, he's got to be getting frustrated. He wants that lead. He wants to get out there in that clean air and try and make this race be his. but he's got the pressure behind him from Aaron Smith, who also wants those points. This is a great show right now between the 16 and the 70, along with Tom Senchuk running that inside line, holding strong down there.
Our top 10 only have 2 drivers that are not in the playoffs currently. That's the 9 of Shane Terry to see in that prime orange machine on the outside. And then up front battling for the lead, Tom Senchuk in the 26. Both drivers that got eliminated last week as Kanata finally solidifies that lead position. But having non-playoff drivers up in the top 10, those are bonus points that for Zach Hall, for John Forbes Jr., they both want desperately to be having here during this run as we hop on board with the 67 of Larry Yingling and get a sense of what it's like watching all this chaos in front of you.
Get those bonus points, you have to be up here in this mix right now, but how much risk are you willing at the chance of getting caught up in an accident? I mean, the way these drivers are racing right now, they're not at Talladega or Daytona. They don't have the max grip like you do at those tracks, but they're still racing so close that if anything happens, this could become a big, big accident. Right here, Cedric Hunter, is he going to pull up? He is. He's going to pull up in front of Larry Yingling, get to that outside line, which seems like it's starting to have the momentum.
Trying to find the momentum where you can slot yourself in, and you're seeing some drivers wanting to get a little bit more aggressive than others. Tom Senchuk, who led this race for the first 15 laps, ever since he got past, he's been falling backwards. And now, riding right behind the 26 is going to be Drew Jua, who is going to be stuck in that conveyor belt. If he cannot figure out a way to get by the 26, that 77 could be trapped going backwards. Also trapped on the inside, Zach Hall and also Douglas Newbigging. They've got to find a way to maybe get to that outside row as Tom Senchuk actually will slightly move up. He's stuck in the middle, and now it's Drew Jua. He'll take advantage, trying to get to that inside quarter panel of the 26 as our battle for the lead is back on. It's now a new contender. Aaron Smith II attempts to go to the inside.
And this will be really, this is what I'm excited to see right here. Can the 70 get around the 16? We saw the 26 not be able to hold that inside line and get around him. Now the 70 chooses to go down there. They're going to be, I thought they were going to go 3 wide, but Sam, I feel like Charlotte, it seems like a lot of times that middle lane gets speed and then it gets hard to pass on an inside. They're 3 wide now, though. The 13 stuck in the middle, 3 on the outside, the 77 on the inside. They are 3 wide, 2 by 2. This is getting really, really interesting. Is anyone going to back out? These guys are in playoff position. Zach Collins to the inside, going to stay 3 wide. Brian Kelly way up high, Brian P. Johnson in the middle. These drivers are really, really going after these stage points early on.
What a move by Cedric Hunter. He tries to split through the middle, forcing Kanata to back out, which is going to stall out everyone on the outside. Going to ricochet and kind of bounce further on back is the 16. But Cedric Hunter, all the guts in the world, said, I'm going to go for this position. Bounces through the middle, takes that spot, and now almost up to second place. And the one driver that's loving all this great racing action is Aaron Smith II, pulling away. And finally, the first driver to really have some space and breathing room to calm down for a second, as everyone else from third on back continue to be right on top of one another.
Oh, they do. They're still 3, 4 wide. Look at this. Their drivers are making moves everywhere, going off into turn 3. They got a little bit of room, but not too much to be able to keep putting moves on like this. These cars are going to get tighter and tighter, potentially as these tires wear out, or are they going to get looser? Either way, they're going to get ill handling here. We're now coming up to lap 25. The handling has definitely changed on these cars. Can't foresee them running 2 or 3 wide like that much longer.
Or will they? They might have found something that just works up there to keep this speed running, but stuck in the middle of this group that we really haven't touched on. Vincent Sora, Gavin Rogers is, oh boy, GT Rosari and Edward Shore Jr., they get close on the inside, as I believe that's Oli Fonseca on the outside, getting into the outside wall. And getting close, and he'll stay high, is the 24, but Vincent Sora, Gavin Rogers, they're still outside of the top 10. They have yet to cross into that threshold. And I'm curious when they're going to be making that decision of it's go time, because it looked like they were protecting their tires for this exact moment, for these final 10 laps in this run to try to push forward. But really, with how close we're seeing everyone, you want to be inside of the top 10 as trouble strikes in the middle of the field. And it's going to be seeing Danny Cochran, Vincent Sora caught up in trouble. Multiple drivers in the middle of the field, and they're still scattering into turn number 3.
Yeah, big accident right there. There's the 51. Now he wants that night to go here at lap 25. They're going to be under yellow here. Check the replay, but definitely multiple cars caught up in that accident.
And it's Vincent Sora who was reacting to try to see where Shane Terrian, who got tapped, was going to go. And the 51 already early troubles here tonight. And this caution, we are going to have a restart before the night is over. But there was kind of after the incident kind of continued, but just more drivers continue to pile in. Stitz, Ollie Fonseca, Vinny trying to kind of do a J-turn to get pointed straight, and luckily no one else gets involved. But it was Shane Terrian having a little bit of wobble that kind of forced everyone to back off, and the accordion effect really ricocheted back to Edward Shore Jr. that just ran over Vincent Sora as much further on back as this wreck progresses on some of the drivers' points of view as Nick Crawford backs off, letting the wreck just envelop in front of him as Bronson Stafford just piles in aggressively into Chris Stitz there.
I think right here what we just saw on board with Nick Crawford is what I wish that everyone could just download and watch on repeat for an hour. Slow down and you save your car. That was a great example of Nick Crawford just rolling out. You're going to see right here, he bails off to the inside. Look at Nick Crawford, he's slowing down, and he was able to get away from this accident, and that's the difference.
Bronson Stafford thought the smoke was going to clear at some moment, and it just never did. As that is going to be some slight playoff implications there. Vincent Sora, the biggest one, will now fall all the way down to 24th position and has the hard decision of, do you take tires or not? His pit service has been done. I'm going to double check to see if he took tires, and he did for the 51 and some slight damage repair. We'll see if Sora can climb his way forward. Also, other drivers that were up front taking tires, Brian P. Johnson, Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling, also going to be coming into pit road to get service done. Brian McCann, Danny Cochran, Cody Reed also joining into the mix of drivers that took tires. And curious, Justin, we didn't see a lot of effect for Chris Stitz moving forward with a 3 to a 4 lap advantage. How about a 27 lap advantage on tires?
It'll make it fun, but my fear would be is if they get 2 or 3 wide, tires don't matter if you can't go anywhere if people are in front of you. So will there be enough laps? I'm also curious about taking tires, just having 5 or 6 green flag laps on them and knowing that everyone else in front is going to come in the pit and start behind you, and then you're going to have the rest of the race. I mean, say there's no more caution, Sam, I wouldn't want to have a 5 or 6 lap disadvantage having to go a full fuel run knowing that there's no more guaranteed caution with the stage.
I'm curious if we could maybe bring up the weather for this series. I am seeing a lot on the driver's end. The drivers have multiple ways to communicate with one another through a text chat or audibly through their radio channels. And through the text chat, everyone is complaining about the weather. And the big thing here is the track temperature. 118 degrees is the track temp currently. The wind's fluctuating around 5 up to 7 miles per hour, but it's that track temp. These drivers are not very happy about it. Some would like the weather to be a little bit hotter. Some want it dramatically lowered. And Justin, this field, it's a little bit nicer than it was during practice, where it was 127 Fahrenheit, but 118 is still extremely high on the weather conditions for these tires.
Yeah, well, hot track, hot tires definitely makes for some slipping and sliding. But now some of those guys, they're going to go out there and they're going to have fresh, nice, cool rubber here for a shootout. Will they be able to get to the front? That will be what we're going to be watching. But I don't know, Sam. I still would rather have that set of tires to put on at lap 35 and go from there.
They had 4 sets in pit road to work with, and half the field decided now is the time to use another set. We're going to pace for another lap, waiting for those lights to turn off on the pace car. That'll be your indication that we got 1 lap to go as they turn off now. Looking at the front, again, our top 15 drivers did not pit for tires or fuel. Christopher Wade actually did pit under our first incident to get service done for the 07. We saw under our initial restart, wheel spin was a big factor that hurt multiple drivers. I'm curious if you feel like old tires versus new tires, which one has the harder attempt here on this restart if they're going to have any wheel spin to deal with?
That also, to answer your question, I think I'd rather the newer tires. Just old tires always seem to sometimes wheel spin, but also sometimes these drivers like to get a little creative and use first gear. I've always preferred second gear and try and roll that start a little bit and time it, but first gear you definitely get that jump, but you got that risk of wheel spin. You got a quick shift in a second, and then sometimes you get that wheel spin again when you do the quick shift in the second. So I think these drivers will want to restart maybe in second gear here for sure.
Well, the driver starting in second place had a major moment under our initial start of this race, being Cedric Hunter. We'll see if he can salvage a decent restart here for the 13 Hello Kitty machine, or will it be Aaron Smith II, notoriously known for the yellow machine, always out there either with no sponsor or like he's run all season long in the Meals on Wheels machine. Will the 70 get the launch? Will it be the 13, or will we see everyone from 16th on back just climb through this field as quickly as possible? Here we go as we're back to green flag action. It's Aaron Smith II with the best launch, but here we go down into turn number 1. Justin, it looks pretty clean for the drivers up instead of our top 12. Now it's time for the madness behind him to start.
Oh, it's clean up front maybe for about 2 cars, but they're already getting a little racing going down the back straightaway here. Got 5 laps to go before that caution. Zach Hall moves into second spot around Cedric Hunter. Got a great restart. Cedric Hunter's going to actually fall back maybe to 4th as Juju is going to jump to his outside. Joshua Kanata settling in 5th position after leading early, dropping, now settling into 5th, looking in a really good chance to get some stage points. Going to be fighting hard to stay inside that top 5.
As the drivers trying to get inside the top 10 as quickly as they can. If we have a caution on at any moment from here to the end of lap 35, that will count as the stage. So these drivers know it is go time. And the first driver with freshest set of tires, the 28 of Brian P. Johnson, he is ripping the top and making it work for himself. Already up to 11th place, almost in the point zone, is going to be Johnson, as he knows it is complete go time if he's going to get up there and maximize on the points. Most of the rest of the field looks like that came in and took tires. They are deciding to stay calm, protect this set. They are not pushing as aggressively as the 28.
That will be something we'll have to watch, see if does 28 pay that price later on versus the rest of the field. But right now, look at this slicing through the middle of the field, going to get 2 or 3 cars from this corner. I mean, he's up inside the top 5 almost in the 6th position. Will he have enough laps to get to the front? Can he lead this thing?
I think there's plenty of laps for him to lead this thing. With the speed we're seeing from Johnson on the outside, he is certainly the driver to watch. He's running 3/10 faster that last lap, and he had to go 3 wide multiple times. This go around, he's just going to rip the top, not have a lot of competition trying to hold him back. And for Johnson, this is that huge run you need to grab. Off the exit of turn 4, other drivers might have to back off. But there goes the 28, making his way up to 3rd position and just making it look easy at this moment. Now it's Smith, Hall, and Johnson going to be your top 3, but for how long is the true question, as you see Thompson, Jack, Cedric Hunter, they race back and forth, and if you're Cedric Hunter, you need these points as well. Again, not a lot of confidence going to be heading into Richmond next week, but at this current moment, it is Hall trying his best to hold back this 28, but as we're coming up to the white flag of the stage, Brian P. Johnson has done it from 16th to battling with the lead as they cross the line. This is the last lap of the stage. Brian P. Johnson is there to get these 10 max bonus points.
New leader, 28, 10 bonus points coming to him. All he's got to do is get down to his back straight through turns 3 and 4. He's going to get those bonus points. That's going to be big to carry him through to tonight and through to next week. So great strategy play there. Went in, got the tires. Now the question is going to be, though, Sam, we will be talking about it. What's he going to be doing on these next pit stops? He can't use another set of tires.
He can't. Other drivers that have marched their way forward with fresh sets going to be Ryan Kelly and Larry Yingling that are looking to be inside of our top 10, and they will be inside of the top 10. That took a set of tires, but that will be your stage. Johnson is your stage winner. And also grabbing some good points, going to be Aaron Smith II, Zach Hall, Drew Jua, Gavin Rogers in 6th, with John Forbes 7th, Cedric Hunter 8th, Ryan Kelly 9th, and Larry Yingling going to be in 10th position. A huge run for the drivers that are in the playoffs. Drivers that missed out on some big bonus points. Joshua Kanata, who ran well, he didn't come into pit road. He falls to 16th. Also, other drivers that wanted some big points weren't able to grab them. Vincent Sora, with being involved with that wreck, he falls all the way down to 28th and was never able to truly recover. He was the slowest driver on track, and he is on the last driver on the lead lap. This looks to be a rough night for the 51, our previous 2-time champion of the series.
And that's, yeah, well, he has some heavy, look like front end damage. It doesn't really show all beat up, but maybe with these updates, we're getting a little bit more damage built into these cars now, because he definitely was off pace, and he was one of the drivers that did take tires too. So he's going to be in for a long night. But the 28, he's in for right now the stage winner. Will he pit, though? That's going to be the thing. I don't expect it unless he comes in just to get some fuel.
I expect him to come in and get fuel again. These drivers here tonight going to be on a full fuel load, so they can go anywhere from 62 to 67 laps on a set of fuel all the way through. We'll see on the tires wise if they want to pit sooner or not, but staying out going to be Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling. They will not be coming into pit row. There is a lot of drivers that pitted under our last caution deciding to stay out. Johnson, one of the rarities actually to come into pit road with that earlier pit stop.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised when you said 60 some laps on fuel. I did the quick math. That put it at only one more stop here from here on out. I mean, if you go 60, you'll be able to get there and get to about lap 100, and then you only got to go about 50. So interesting that he would stop and giving up that track position, knowing that drivers like Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling could stay out, and they did. He's not going to have that clean air, and he definitely ran the hardest on those tires. So we'll see. We know he's a really fast, talented driver. We'll see how he settles in, but right now he's going to have all those new tires right behind him.
And also taking tires will be Johnson, so he'll be left with just 2 for the rest of this race. And like you noted on, if we stay green, this race could become just a one-stop, so he still will have an extra set in the back pocket. So for all the drivers that didn't pit, it now makes you kind of question, was that the right call for themselves? As some of the drivers that stayed out, they didn't maximize their tires to get stage bonus points, and now on this restart, they're on the back foot. It just seemed like that whole entire pit stop for some of these drivers was a complete loss, maybe for some of them.
Okay, so now that kind of changes my opinion, Sam. I thought it was 4 sets of tires, including what they started on. So you're saying he had 4 sets plus what they started. So yeah, I kind of like the strategy now. What Brian P. Johnson did, just ran hard, got the stage win, and he still has 2 sets in the pits. I mean, that's really good still.
Yeah, if you're watching here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, some of our other series that we run, Justin Malarkey ran on last night's the Challenger Racing League. Those drivers go with a little bit more restrictive mode on tires, where you're gonna have to make pit stops without taking tires. Here tonight, we give you extra. You can come in, take tires. There might be a few stops where maybe you decide not to take tires, but most of the time, if you're gonna pit, you're taking 4 with you. And for Johnson, it looks like the winning strategy for himself. I mean, wins the stage. He's up to 9th on this restart, and all the drivers ahead of him, about 10 lap old tires compared to what we're going to see from this 28. This is going to be a great starting position for himself, as the field's still waiting for that 1 to go indicator. Let's see if maybe we could pull up Brian P. Johnson, get his thoughts on that run for himself. As again, we're waiting for this 1 to go marker. We'll see if we queue up the 28. Brian, it's Sam and Justin up at the booth. You got us?
I sure do.
Well, Brian, you take a set of tires before the stage is over. You climb through the field. You win the stage. Are you shocked that more drivers didn't follow you into pit road that pitted when you did the last caution that we had?
Yes and no. I was kind of expecting maybe 1 or 2 other people to do what I did, which is, take the tires and then try to get stage points. But I wasn't surprised that a lot of people flipped the stage right there. I've tried that before earlier in the season. So, guys up there like Larry and Ryan, they're sitting pretty good with the track position, but they got the same tires as everybody else. So, I'm down a set of tires, but for my position with the playoffs and with the stage points, I think a set of tires is worth 10 points.
Hey, Brian, real quick, I know you're getting ready to go back here, but how do you expect this car to drive different now here versus the clean air?
It's definitely much more tight on entry and looser on exit. So pretty much everything that's wrong with the car in clean air gets worse in dirty air. So yeah, navigating the traffic right here is going to be pretty tough.
Well, good luck, Brian. We'll send you back to your team, but congratulations on winning the stage, and hopefully we'll be talking to you at the end of the night.
Thanks, sir.
That will be your Nightmare Fuel driver of Brian P. Johnson, teammate with going to be Danny Cochran, Vincent Sora, as well as Tom Senchek in that crew, hoping for a good run for themselves. As up front, Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling, open for a good restart here. But watch out for Brian P. Johnson. He's going to try to climb through this field as quickly as possible. You also got Drew Jua with fresh set of tires and Zach Hall. Will you be patient or do you pounce forward? We've lost 3 drivers so far here tonight. Bronson Stafford just calling it an evening. Justin Forbes as well. And Ben Keeney having iRacing crash on him. We're left with 30 drivers out on track. Only 29 will be on the lead lap. As here we go back to green flag action at Charlotte for the round of 11, race 1 and 2. We're green, a little bit of checkup on the inside, but it's going to be Ryan Kelly pulling away for the 3 up front.
Ryan Kelly to the lead, but back here we're watching Brian P. Johnson right now. We talked to him. How is he going to run through this field? Right now, choosing to stay on that inside line, following Nick Crawford. Now we're going to pan back up front. You see Ryan Kelly's got that nice lead, a little bit, about 2 car lengths over Larry Yingling, but right here on the outside, there's going to be some pressure. Drivers are going to get up high to 25. That's Cody Reed. He's going to try and rip that outside line.
Trying to rip the outside line to put some pressure on some of these other playoff contenders if possible. Also, you see the likes of Carl Pooler in the 58 trying their best to be moving forward as Carl, a driver that's been struggling this season, but taking that gamble of using a set of tires, protecting them when we went back to green flag racing to have this opportunity to keep track position up front that we've seen to be so crucial with how the tire wear's been looking and the way these cars react in the draft. But it's Brian B. Johnson, one of the few drivers willing to march up in that second groove. Most of this field, Justin, kind of shockingly, everyone's trying to get in line except for those with fresh rubber that are willing to go high to go take some of these moves.
Yeah, it seems like guys right now up front are migrating to that bottom, which I think probably does the best for saving the tires. Running that middle line, like a lane up, it seems like you can carry speed there, but you really pay the price on turning the car a little bit harder just to carry that momentum. But wow, it can be really fast when it works for you.
Certainly can, as Brian B. Johnson in that weird scrum of drivers from 5th on back of does it the inside or the outside? Which lane's going to be moving faster? Looks like the inside row for a quick moment was looking quick, but Danny Cochran, too much speed on entry, and Carl Pooler will take advantage. But once again, Brian Johnson, he can't move high to follow Carl Pooler because he's got Nick Crawford to that quarter panel and forcing these drivers to stay side by side on where they're at. And as this group stays attached and stays stuck, it's Ryan Kelly as well as Cody Reed now going to be your top 2 pulling away from the rest of the field.
Pulling away and hoping to get out there and leave some laps is Ryan Kelly, but he's got some pressure. Cody Reed showing some strength. We talked about at the very top of the show. Cody Reed, he was going through the infield, you mentioned, Sam. He was able to stay in the lead lap, got the caution, and right now up to 2nd position. And he's looking for the lead. Is he going to get the run coming out of this corner?
Yeah, be patient, willing to let this race come to you if you have an early trouble, and Cody Reed did just that. Called strategy, took tires, and stays out for the track position, and now with a chance to dive down low on Ryan Kelly. Cody Reed leading here tonight, and what a feeling it's got to be for the 25. The fact that he marched his way to this point after taking that track position call under a stage brake caution, be up front, makes the pass, and now going to be leading here tonight. And it's got to be a good feeling, Justin, when you're leading a race that's not a super speedway where Cody Reed has really shown a lot of strength here in WSSR in the past.
He's showing it tonight, and that's what matters. Right now, tonight, is what matters is out on track, leading the laps, got 2 laps led now. But here we're third of the way through this race, and to be up front and have that track position, that's what's crucial. I mean, he's out there and he's kind of trying to check out a little bit, build up as big a lead as he can before any of those guys with a little bit of better tires come. But by the time they get there, will those tires equalize? This could be a huge night for Cody Reed right now, running so strong.
Some of the drivers entering tonight outside of our top 6. That's where you got to be in points if you want to make it to the championship round or race North Wilkesboro and Las Vegas to be crowned a Season 9 champion. It's seeing the likes of Cedric Hunter, Joshua Kanata, they're lingering in the middle of this field. They need to find a little bit of extra pace if they want to move forward as they're battling from 20th on back. But other drivers further back here, Shane Tarian, he's trying to make his way forward. Andrew Medlin that we see on screen as well, racing with GT Rizari. Talk about how iRacing made some updates with graphics-wise. They made some updates with colors and some of these drivers that would run metallic schemes. And spec maps, able to now see those machines a little bit brighter, a little bit shinier, really helping some of these drivers like an Andrew Medlin, but extremely GT Rosari, no longer a dark gray. He looks like actual shining metallic gray for himself in that shining silver for the 14 as they are trying to figure out how to get by Richard Wolsifer in the 56, running some new colors for himself, that cotton candy pink and blue, trying to figure out how to get by Brian Noel, but looking to be stuck here as these drivers continue to battle for 23rd on back.
You see they are putting on a really good show here. 2x2 is amazing how on these newer tires, drivers are just able to run like they're at Daytona until they get so close together and trying to utilize what lane is going to work the best in the draft. And you see right there, was that Douglas Newbigging out of shape? There was a driver, blue car, I think.
That was Douglas. Douglas getting a little bit of contact as he slowed up in the entry of the corner and gets tapped. I believe that was Richard Wolsifer that pushes the 7 high and into the outside wall and audibly over the radio. Not happy with that contact as he will now fall to 28th position. And for Douglas, this has been, I feel like, a recurrence for himself. It's either he's caught up being an innocent victim or he's self-spinning that's been ruining a lot of these races for the 7 this season, who looked like a threat that he was going to be racing for a championship this season, got suspended for 2 races, and a little sadly with that 2-race suspension, missed out on the playoffs, and here tonight might be calling it early as he has to make an emergency pit stop after getting into the outside wall.
Yeah, I'm also curious if he has required damage or if he's maybe just frustrated and might be taking it off for the night. We're going to find out here. But, wow, you said it, Sam. I mean, this is a driver who I felt like he was one of those drivers that has speed, and I feel like he's really good on 1.5-mile tracks. He likes the 2-mile tracks, likes to run the bottom. It just seemed like it all was going well in the beginning of the year, and it kind of just all instantly just week after week after week, trouble, and unfortunately tonight caught up again in an incident.
Very relentless it was for the 7, and can confirm it was required damage for the 7 that forced Douglas Newbigging into pit road. A little bit of a broken wheel well, it looked like, or a tow line. It's going to be extended time to get those repairs done as we're watching now the battling from 7th on back with Brad McCann, Nick Crawford, so is Danny Cochran in the 75, and Gavin Rogers, and Rogers starting to poke his nose inside of our top 10 as he's trying to figure out which lane again is going to be moving forward. Danny Cochran, who's on old tires, the 2 is actually doing a pretty good job holding strong on the outside.
He is doing a really good job right there, utilizing that outside line, trying to pinch the drivers down there, carry that momentum. The 75's going to try and get underneath them coming out of this corner. They're going to race side by side, but not much drafting help for the 75 really. Gets a little bit of toe maybe from the 8, pulled down slightly, but the draft kind of gets really important here at this track. They build these drivers to run side by side.
They continue to race on as seeing Cody Reed, who marched out to over a half a second gap lead to Ryan Kelly. I think all that overzealous of I got clean air starting to backfire for the 25. He's starting to get caught by Ryan Kelly. Update on the 7 of Douglas Newbigging. Required damage. Well, he's going to call it a night. Has left the server, so we will be left with just a total of 28 drivers still left out on track. And kind of shocking to see the drivers getting knocked out. I know one was because of iRacing lockup, but a lot of other drivers, again, with it being the playoff style, some drivers feel like they have to stay out there for their own honor and proving that they can win. Others, as they know they're having a bad day, just call it a night in the playoffs, it seems.
It seems that way for sure, and if you look out the front of this view right here on board Tom Bourne, you'll see Cody Reed. He was first, dropped to 2nd, dropped to 3rd, dropped back to 4th position, all in about a lap. He is stuck on that outside line, but not having the momentum. Zach Hall's underneath him now, so Cody Reed from 1st to outside the top 5 potentially.
Cody Reed's got to be careful. That outside wall is calling for the 25. Especially watch out here off the exit of turn 4, where drivers have been very close to getting the wall almost every time. They just throttle up, and the car just pushes out to that outside wall that always is sneakily tries to grab you to make contact. And 25 looks steady for now, but that tire wear is completely gone. Running over 4 to 6 tenths slower than the rest of the field is Cody right now. He is struggling to find pace, and all that grip that put him up front is completely gone.
And it's never fun right now when you just have drivers behind you coming for you, especially drivers who have a couple lap better tires. They're starting to sneak into the picture. Some have already gotten around him. But this is just where it becomes really, he's hoping for a caution, but he does not want to be that caution.
I mean, in this circumstance, I mean, Justin, if you are the slower driver, Cody Reed's going to fight to hold this position the best that he can. But if you are the slower driver and you're trying to get out of the way, is there even a safe place right now for Cody to run if he decides, you know what, this is danger, I'm going to cause an issue? Do you want him to stay high, low, maybe fall back through the middle? Is there a safe spot to be at this moment?
Well, that's a tricky question, because honestly, I hate when you're in this position, because if you run up high, you think you give them the room on the inside. The problem is those drivers carry so much speed out of the corner, and you're struggling to get out of the corner, and they kind of slide up into you sometimes because they're trying to carry that momentum, and they think they're going to clear you. If they don't clear you, they slide up into you, and that's when you know you're in a wreck. See right here, he's going to get in the wall, and that's going to really stack the field up. They're going to bounce all over him. This is going to be trouble. Brian McCann stuck right behind him, hoping to get that momentum back up for that 25 machine, but that could have been a big moment right there.
Thompson Jack able to get rolling for himself and trying to get around Cody Reed. A hard slam to that outside wall. Now Nick Crawford and Shane Tarrant going to be the drivers stuck following, but instead Cody drops low, and that's going to be hurting Ollie Fonseca as well as John Forbes and Vincent Sora. They're all on the inside, ripping the top. Give the kudos to Nick Crawford and Shane Tarrant as they try to move forward, but Tom Bourne brushes the wall for himself. No one seems to be safe, but up front, it is all confidence for Ryan Kelly. But this group doesn't look like they're going to keep it together, but John Forbes able to back off just enough to make sure he doesn't turn Shane Tarrant in the 9 machine.
It's amazing right now how much these tires have just dropped off on the 25 car. This would be a good indication to the rest of this field that you still need to take care of your tires, especially with maybe some recent updates. You never know, maybe something was just tweaked in there. Get a little bit more tire wear, separating these cars a little bit more, but right now the 25 is going to pull in line, but the 06 is going to try and get back around to his outside as we move a little bit up front. Brian McCann trying to make a move to the outside. We got Shane Therian right behind him. John Forbes. These drivers are starting to march back to the front, but I have to ask you, Sam, maybe with that recent update, did the 7 car, I mean, these cars, we've always said how much damage they could take. We were surprised with drivers being in incidents.
Tom Sinchek, yeah, we'll get to that comment. Sinchek brushing that blue line. That is a big no-no zone. You do not want to go down to the apron or touch the paint. Able to hold steady, but that squeezes this group up once again. But, you know, bringing back to the damage model, there are small adjustments as John Forbes breaks loose. He holds on the inside. Oh, they stay 3 wide. Ken Campbell, Nick Crawford, they're squeezing. I don't know if they know that they're 3 wide. Crawford bounces into the 15. They give space, and somehow, once again, they keep it together. But it could have been a wheel well damage that went to just too much that Douglas wanted to deal with, and it didn't look like the contact that we would have seen previously that would have given required damage, but these cars are so fragile when you hit any type of angle near any 4 of the wheels.
Yeah, that's some good feedback there. And going back to that 11 car, he has to be happy that the Roble paved that grass down there, because he didn't get into the grass. He got onto that nice, smooth, oh, here's going to be some contact there. And Shane gets out. Shane also got some multiple incidents coming out of that corner. Is this that looseness that you talked about, Sam? We're now getting later into this run. I don't think these drivers have gone this far on these tires this long. The 24, he's under pressure from GT Irizarry. These drivers are seeing a lot of ill-handling cars all of a sudden.
I mean, you got to mix back, right? You've got 14, 15 drivers on an old set of tires. You've got the rest of the field going with a chance of, you know, refreshed rubber that's starting to fall off. You were getting too aggressive into a run. Those drivers that stayed out, they're coming up to 40 laps on this run for tires and fuel. The rest of the group are just about to cross over to lap 30 on this run. Only a 10-lap difference that they're dealing with, but it's such a minuscule difference. But we're all seeing those that push too aggressively. They're falling back, kind of causing that accordion effect, but they're starting to all filter through to this point where everyone's starting to space out a little bit more cleanly further up ahead.
Yeah, and if you look at the scoreboard, you're seeing some of those familiar names start rising to the top. So these drivers are figuring it out. The ones that can save tires are moving towards the front. We had a lot of passing early in this race, but now it's starting to settle in, and we're really starting to see who has long run speed, and that driver's going to be that 28, Brian P. Johnson, one of the drivers that we labeled at the top of the show to keep an eye out for. He got the stage, and now he's got back to the front. had to come to the front after giving up, going into the pits, getting the tires. He does have still 2 sets left. I tell you what, it doesn't matter. We're at lap 70 here. 2 sets is plenty. Zach Hall's going to drive it to the inside and trying to get around Ryan Kelly and follow Brian P. Johnson. Is he going to be able to do it? Yes, he is. Ryan Kelly's going to just slide right back into third. Does not want to risk heating up those tires anymore battling.
And for Johnson, he's going to be loving the fact that he's got clean air to work with, but having Zach Hall tag behind, these are the 2 veterans of the series. Brian P. Johnson, winner of the first inaugural season of the WSSR. He would love to become a 2-time champion and join the club of Vincent Sora, Benjamin Nelson, and as well Larry Yingling. Yingling with 3 championships under his belt, but this 28 has had so many chances of getting into victory lane, but yet to find himself a chance this season. Would love to finally get that win on his belt, and what a time to get it, because if Johnson wins, he's locked into the championship round.
Oh, and that's what he wants to hear. Getting locked in, nothing better than that, but he's got some hungry drivers behind him that are thinking the same thing, and I mean, he's got a nice little lead there, but he's got those 2 cars right behind him, and they got a little bit of gap to 4th position, but any mix-up, any races side by side between these drivers, and can instantly have a field of 10 right there underneath him. But I tell you, it's going to be important. Pit stops, we'll be talking about it shortly. That window will be opening probably in about 20 laps. I mean, still a little bit of distance away, and it'll be in about 20 laps we'll be able to get to the end on 1 stop. So these drivers still have to go about 19 more laps before they can even consider thinking pitting. And then will drivers pit early at lap 90, or will they maybe go to 95, 97 to have that little bit of tire later on? That'll be some interesting topics to talk about shortly, but we still have a lot of battling right here on the screen.
Yeah, this is the middle of the pack where drivers are really inching for every little bit of this course. And some of the drivers that are mixed in this group that are on older sets of tires, older fuel. Brian McCann in 8th place, as well as Larry Yingling runs in 4th place. 8th for the 8 machine, doing everything in his his pocket to really hold back this group. But it's really coming down to mistakes that are giving chances for drivers to go for passes, where drivers are snapping loose off the exit of the corner or drifting up and getting to the outside wall and hitting it. Those are the 2 major mistakes that are giving opportunities for passes. Otherwise, everyone seems to be pretty stuck and are not able to make passes this late into a run.
Yeah, it seems like that happens a lot in these cars with the similar setups. Kind of get stuck, and it really comes down to it's so hard to make the pass, especially on the inside. See right here, speaking of being on the inside, Aaron Smith, he's going to poke to the inside of Josh Canada, see if he can get that position, and is he going to be able to clear? He does. Move Aaron Smith up a spot. Surprisingly, though, not running inside the top 10 right now is Aaron Smith after leading so many laps earlier in this race.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked about how that's taken him this long to kind of cruise his way forward. But again, one of those drivers that really was struggling at some points of trying to make the decision of, do I get aggressive with taking tires or not? That runs of when he takes tires. So right now, 70 machine trying to make his way forward up to 13th position, but would much more prefer a top 5 at the end of the night, if possible. As the run continues on, pit stops around the corner, looking to be in the next 10 to 15 laps is when we're going to see the first batch of drivers enter pit road, and then after that, maybe in the next 20 to 25 is going to think about throwing it to a commercial break, but the 8 machine, Brian McCann, he gets squirrely there entering turn 1 in the center of the corner, and that's something that I saw a lot during practice, not a lot here during this race. Center of the corner looseness we're seeing from drivers here this late into a run.
Center of the corner loose is not what you want when you're trying to throttle up coming out of the corner to carry that speed, and it's going to hurt him. The 70 is going to move by to move Aaron Smith up into another position, getting closer inside that top 10. Brian McCann going to drop back the spot, and he's going to be under pressure from this group right behind him.
Trouble behind, and it's Cody Reed who gets involved with Ali Fonseca, as both of those drivers were struggling late into a run, and they come together on the front stretch to bring out a middle of the race caution.
Middle of the race caution. That's going to put us in a window where they're going to be short on fuel, but will anyone decide to top off and stretch it, Sam?
This caution going to be one that you hate to see for these drivers, but they're going to be battling side by side. This went on all the way until the front stretch. and it's going to be coming up the start-finish line. Ollie Fonseca drifts up into Cody. They're riding off of one another off the exit of the corner. Makes some more contact. Ollie tries to stay center, and then hooked. Just goes around. I don't know if there was a purposeful hook, but 25 goes around. Ollie Fonseca drifts back up into the track, collects Edward Sherwood Jr., and we're under yellow once again.
I don't know if that was hard racing or what there, but the 24 was leaning on that 25 all through this corner, and then maybe it looked like on the front straightaway the 25 maybe kind of try to run the 24 down the track a little bit, and I'm not really sure. We'll see right here. I mean, I don't think the 25 really even did anything now, looking at that angle, other than maybe get turned.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I know also coming through the quad oval and the front stretch, it narrows up in those little tiny spots where you're turning to the left just slightly, and one of those bizarre moments, both drivers spun around and caught up in this wreck. Well, that caution, like I said, is going to make things a little bit awkward. They are not in the zone to make it from here. They still have one more pit stop after this as everyone in the field enters pit road and gets service done. Brian P. Johnson's going to win off of pit road with Larry Yingling, Ryan Kelly, Zach Hall, and Vincent Sora going to be your top 5. We are going to step away for our first commercial break of the evening as you are watching the WSSR Cup Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Thank you so much to all those that are watching with us. When we come back, it's more action here in Charlotte for the first race of the round of 11 to see who will race for the championship in the round of 6. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the WSSR Cup Series, brought to you all here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. You're watching the Season 9 playoffs, the first race of the round of 11. first race of this round. There's only 2 races in this round. Once we get done with these 2 races here tonight at Charlotte, next week at Richmond, we cut down the field to just 6 that will race for a championship to see who can have the most points after North Wilkesboro and Las Vegas. Here tonight, we just got a middle of the race caution that really shakes things up. With the way the fuel window's looking like, some of these drivers might be able to stretch the fuel out. Others could be close if they're not able to save the fuel. But it is going to be a fun dash to the end if we stay green. As the pace car's in pit road, green flag is out. It's Brian P. Johnson, Larry Yingling, Zach Hall going to be at the front 3, to watch out for as we're back to green flag action. Justin, it's down to strategy if we can stay green.
If we stay green, but right now we got the race up front. Brian P. Johnson to the lead. Got a great restart. Larry Yingling on that inside line did not get the ideal restart that he wanted, and he's going to be stuck down on that inside line. He's actually going to fall back to 4th position, it looks like. Wow, that's not the restart he wanted at all. But we know he's got speed. He could definitely get back up there. But now the race is back on. These drivers have fresh rubber. They're going to be trying to move back through the field. But if these drivers push hard, I mean, Sam, here's the thing. If they decide they're going to pit halfway through and split this final pit stop up, are they going to run hard for 35 laps and then run hard for the other 35? Or is someone up front going to try and maybe back off and limp to the finish and save fuel, like you said?
Well, that was the thing we were kind of talking about. It felt like if you're going to win this race, you have to stretch the fuel out. That is really your only strategy. Similar thing was happening last week at Darlington, where some drivers were stretching the fuel out and it got them in better positioning before a late caution came out. I feel like based off the way we've been seeing these races, there's always seems to be a late caution. Staying out is the only option any of these drivers have. And we do have a couple of drivers that did top off while we were under pacing that gave up major track position. Aaron Smith, the second in the 70 machine, will fall all the way down to 22nd position. Also, Brian Noel, Christopher North, Shane Tarian, Edward Shore Jr. all decided to pit a couple laps later than everyone else. They're going to be having that advantage on having a little bit of extra fuel to work with, while everyone else might have to back off a little bit more aggressively later on in the run.
But it's so hard to back off when everyone's pushing so hard. You just back off. You could go from 5th to 10th to 10th to 15th. And then if you get that caution, now all of a sudden you gave up all that track position for nothing. So that's the dilemma that these drivers are in. I want the viewers to understand. It's so hard. It's simple for us to say back off, save fuel, but what about giving up that track position and then you get the caution? It doesn't matter then. And then you gave up all those spots.
Again, the fuel window we were given was around 67 to 69. I was saying 62 just based off the tire wear that we were seeing, but if some of these drivers are really focusing on fuel saving, Justin, that also helps on tire wear. Might actually help out on both ends to make it to the end of this race, as 2 drivers involved with their last incident, Ali Fonseca, Cody Reed, both call it a night. So we're down to 26 drivers left on the lead lap. All eyes up front on who's going to lead this race with Brian P. Johnson there. Ryan Kelly's going to be trying to force the issue for 2nd position, but also 22nd position. How aggressively are we going to be seeing save mode for Aaron Smith II, who was looking to be the driver that was going to win last week if we had stayed green to the very end of that race?
Yeah, right now, Aaron Smith, he's got that decision to make. I mean, if you're going to save fuel, you want to do it from the beginning of the run to make sure. But maybe, Sam, maybe he's thinking, you know what, I went in, I topped off. He knows that right now he can go longer than anyone. So maybe he's thinking, I'll push as hard as I can, make those guys push. And then if they start pitting early at lap 35, maybe he'll, 35 laps into this run, around lap 110, 115, if those drivers decide to go in and get the tires because they're going to be short on fuel, maybe that's when he'll start saving, knowing that they already made that pit stop and he'll be cycling to the front.
What gutsy calls are drivers willing to make? And based off what I'm seeing from Aaron Smith II, he's backing off the pace. Way more aggressive than I've seen anyone. Our leaders, that last lap, ran a 30.8 second lap time. Aaron Smith II, who just crossed the line, 4/10 to almost a half a second slower than our leaders. This 70 machine, it is save mode already in mind. He wants to win this race off a strategy, which if we get a late caution, this could throw away a major attempt for a good run for Aaron Smith II, but he comes into this race as the driver last in points. He needs a Hail Mary charge to make sure he's locked into the next round. Does not want to worry about Richmond next week.
No, and that who wants to worry about Richmond short track? If you could get the win tonight, that'll make you sleep all that nice for the next week. Don't have to stress out too much. But he's gonna be praying that this race stays green. And you know what, Sam? It just seems like the second we went back to the restart, maybe a lot of drivers have fuel on their minds. I'm not saying everyone up front is racing like that, but it just seems like people are really trying to take care of the tires. It doesn't seem like they're all racing side by side like they were in these other stages in the beginning of the race. So maybe these drivers are thinking, maybe they're even thinking they can make it on fuel. I'm surprised. They're kind of in a draft right now.
Here's your current top 5, and trying to make a little bit of change in that further position was Gavin Rogers, but changing up positioning-wise is going to be Brian B. Johnson, Ryan Kelly, Zach Hall, Gavin Rogers, and Vincent Sora. It's Nightmare Fuel that's going to have the advantage on drivers in 1st and 5th currently, and seeing the drivers changing up their positioning. It's Vincent Sora that seems to be the driver on the move. The 51 does not want to linger behind. He wants to catch up to his teammate, as we were seeing that top 5 picture, has already moved back up to 3rd position.
Back up to 3rd spot, and that's huge. We were talking about the update, maybe more damage with the Douglas Newbegin incident, but I tell you what, Vincent Sora, he had trouble. He had nose turned into the wall, and he was able to get that damage repaired and having no ill effects, moving up into 3rd spot and fast, trying to get around Ryan Kelly. So maybe the damage model isn't as drastically different as we thought.
Maybe not, but I'll also let you know, Don, maybe the front pack is saving. Maybe they're all thinking about it's save mode, because right now our leaders and Aaron Smith II running very similar lap times to one another, and 51 as well as the 28 teammates of Nightmare Fuel are the only drivers that are really pushing the limit on speed. They are running below a 31.0 lap time. They're still in the 32nd bracket, as we're seeing Gavin Rogers, Zach Hall, Tom Sinchek having their little bit of a bicker going on for 4th place on back. And Zach Hall was trying to stay attached to Brian B. Johnson, this 32, trying to make his way forward. But my pick of a driver to watch out for, it's John Forbes on the outside, bringing along his ISRC Truck Series driver that are friends at moments, rivals and others on Monday nights. Well, they're working together on the outside road to try to catch up to our top 5.
Working together, trying to make those moves. But I tell you, Sam, I think you hit on something. I'm starting to see drivers kind of just, looks like they're like Zach Hall, for example. He was running up there in 2nd, 3rd spot. It seems like he's backed off a little bit, trying to utilize a little bit of draft. I think one of the big giveaways, if people are saving fuel, not shifting, staying in 5th gear the whole time. I know some of these drivers slam it down in their 4th gear through the corners a little bit to try and carry that speed. But right now, if these drivers are saving fuel, there's so much potential strategy. Assuming this race stays green, Sam, I'm thinking, imagine if these top 10, top 15 drivers, if they think they can make it to the end, but then say with 2 or 3 laps to go, they know they're going to be short and they have to do that late race pit. What if someone decides to pit here in about 15 laps, gets the fuel, gets the tires, runs hard, and then they get the fresh tire advantage, plus they didn't have to save fuel, they were running hard, and then it stays green, and then all those guys who try to save, they still end up having to pit. I mean, it could be a huge strategy play for someone who decides to pit and take 4 tires.
Yeah, and I feel like for most of the field, there's a lot of drivers that are in that window where maybe they could test that strategy out if you're a non-playoff driver. But if you're a playoff driver, you can't take that risk. We saw it last week at Darlington. A late caution in the middle of a green flag pit cycle changed everything. It made some drivers that were looking like they were going to have a top 5 finish outside the top 15. There is a major risk of taking that early pit stop that may help you gamble, but we've seen Aaron Smith II and a couple of other drivers top off on fuel. Kind of forces the hand of everyone up front. You have to stay out as long as possible, save the fuel, but also put yourself in the best position of, if you need to push your car, you're still in touching distance for a good top 10, top 5 finish for yourself.
So many strategies, so many decisions these drivers have to make. It's not just about going out there and turning left like so many people think. There's so much going through a driver's mind, and it's really difficult to know what to do. But the best thing to do is just be fast, be out front, be Brian P. Johnson, be our leader, and maybe not have to worry.
Ryan P. Johnson up front, Ryan Kelly in 2nd, Vincent Sora 3rd, Tom Sinchek 4th, and 5th is John Forbes Jr. This is our 2nd pack of drivers that are slightly more aggressive. Didn't top off on fuel, but willing to be aggressive on saving their fuel and tires. being led by Danny Cochran in the 2 machine. But drivers that have pitted that are in this little group that topped off, Tom Bourne in the 06, Shane Tarian, both topped off with Aaron Smith second, but they are not being as aggressive on saving fuel or tires. They're just saying, hey, we saved our fuel. We only had to save maybe a lap or 2. Let's go out there and get as fast as we can.
As fast as we can, that's what you got to do. But speaking of fast, there's a new second place machine, Vincent Sora. We talked about him before, involved in an accident, now up to second spot. But how about Tom Senchak also going up inside the top 5? Started up front, led a lot of laps, fell back, but now moving back to the front. I mean, drivers are coming and going right now. We're all different strategies.
They certainly are, and the big note for the drivers that are up front in that lead pack, for the likes of Tom Senchak, Ken Campbell, GT Rosari, Brian McCann, if they somehow win this race, they would be stealing that auto ticket to be racing for the championship for the other 11 championship contenders. So you're racing for, yes, your own glory, but for those that are up front that still have a chance to run up in that lead pack, also wanting to maybe play a little bit of spoiler if possible. GT Rosari, Ken Campbell, this is the battle for 9th position currently.
So many strategy ploys, but I am telling you what, these drivers now, they are into that final third of the race. We got through the first 66% of this race. Now we got 33% of it left to go, 49 laps. This is where it's just going to get exciting, just to kind of see how it's all going to play out. And these comers and goers through the field and who's going to be doing what and what kind of strategy plays we're going to see. That window will be opening if anyone decides to pit early. Like you said, probably no one in the playoffs, but will someone try and play spoiler?
Who's willing to maybe make the big move? Currently, not a lot of movement going on for tonight's race here late because it's all about fuel mileage. Maybe if you see an opportunity to get a good run off the exit of the corner, you'll take that chance to dive it down low or maybe work the outside. But everyone staying in line because it's about fuel saving for these final 40-odd laps before this race is over. Thank you so much for joining with us here tonight on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. If you're curious about some of the other series that we cover here on Freaky Fast, we cover 3 other series on top of one that we have here tonight. 4 in total, Monday through Thursday. We got ISRC Truck Series coming back this upcoming Monday as they're going to be racing at Dover to start out. It's still in the first half of the regular season. Then on Tuesday, it's the Challenger Racing League as they're going to be finding themselves at Atlanta for coming close to the end of their regular season. They only got Watkins Glen and Bristol before their regular season is over. Then, like you're seeing tonight on Wednesday, we got the WSSR Cup Series, and tomorrow night, going to be a fun one. Don't want to miss out on it. It is going to be the next level. It's going to be the Doghouse Racing League as they are running in the next gens as they find themselves in an open setup league, which is one of the more unique series in combos. We get to watch and see how drivers pick and choose how they want their cars to run at each track that we run to. Those are your 4 series that we cover. We'd love it if you could hit that like button. It lets us know if you're enjoying the show or not, or if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button as these drivers still picking and choosing when they're going to tackle and go forward. And Justin, this is that odd time of the race, is where do you want to go for this aggression? Some drivers, they always have that itch of, I need to go as fast as possible, while others are willing to be patient at times. That's such a hard balance to find at this current moment of the race.
Yeah, especially at this moment right now. It's so hard to go slow and save fuel when you just want to go fast and get to the front, and it makes it challenging. I think I have to respect anyone that has that strategy of go hard, get to the front, because chances are you get that caution and then you got that track position. And the driver here, Tom Senchak, he's one of those ones wanting to go to the front, trying to go down and get these front 2. But also, as he catches those front 2, he gets that little bit of that toe, a little bit of that draft. Can he lift, run maybe 95, 94, 90% throttle, save a little bit of fuel, and also be up front? You hear him shifting now, so I don't think he's saving fuel.
Shifting, trying to get aggressive for some. I mean, well, like we said, there's only a couple of laps that you need to save for some of these drivers, and it could have been that some drivers up front felt like they saved enough. They feel like over time, just naturally with tire wear, that they're going to have enough fuel at the end of this race. And seeing drivers say, hey, I'm still willing to get aggressive and push forward as they continue to race on.
Yeah, and they continue to race on. And one of the drivers that we know, if anyone's going to make it on fuel, is definitely going to be that number 70, Aaron Smith. He's only 10 seconds back though, Sam. So my question would be is he's in that window right now where he's close enough to this field. So if these guys do pit, he's definitely overtaking them. That's not going to be a problem. They'll definitely overtake them. And even with new tires, I can't see them running them down because he's not really giving up that much time. It's not like he's a full track behind or a half a track. He's only 10 seconds back. So impressive that he's able to stay up there. Maybe he saved enough in the beginning that now he feels like he can run hard enough to stay in that bubble. So if these drivers do start pitting, they won't catch him on fresh tires.
Well, the big thing for Aaron right now is, again, drivers topped off with him. Those main drivers he's keeping in mind, Christopher Norris, Shane Tarian, those are the drivers that he's got to keep. Okay, where are they on track? So I know the window I got to keep myself in front of. And that's who he's keeping his sights on. Christopher Norris currently runs in 18th position, leading the pack of drivers as in front of the 70. And will it line up, or will the rest of the field in front find a way to save fuel while being also extremely quick? As we find coming up to 40 laps to go, we are going to actually take another commercial break. This is all about finding yourself a way to save the fuel. Some of the drivers up front willing to get aggressive, and it's the teammates from Nightmare Fuel that are 1, 2, 3, winning and dominating currently. Do they have the tactics, though, to keep the fuel with them? We'll have to find out as we will step away. You won't miss a thing. We go side by side watching the WSSR Cup Series here in Charlotte. We'll be back right after this.
They're 5 wide behind for fifth. Oh my, the 5 wide here. This ain't gonna work. They make it last. Bumping and banging to the end. They're beating banging for the lead. Sora still with the shot here, coming off a 4. Look at it. That's it.
It's bottom line, here it comes. I know Carter gets run. It's gonna be that Nick Crawford. The 74 gets through somehow, and they just completely demolish one another. Trinity driving down low, drifting up, trying to be the stealer. Here he comes, Cedric Hunter. He does it. He steals it.
But he somehow drove it into the corner to wreck it.
Oh, they wrecked! They wrecked each other! The top two bounced into one another, just too much of side drifting off of, and they gotta be careful. Oh no, the 4 demolishes in the 28. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. You're watching the WSSR Cup Series on a Wednesday night. We're giving you coverage of the Season 9 playoffs, the first race of the round of 11. It's starting to see a little bit of movement up front. Swappage of second place between the teammates of Tom Sinchek and Vincent Sora. Ryan Kelly trying to find a way to get up front, but they're all chasing one driver. That's Brian P. Johnson. And tonight's race coming down to fuel mileage. Was it pitting in the middle of this green flag cycle, or was it staying out and saving the fuel? We got a couple of drivers that feel pretty confident can save fuel. A few drivers, though, made pit stops under a commercial break. Those that pitted, Andrew Medlin and Edward Sherwood Jr. We'll see if their strategy might work out. We got a feeling it might come down to those that maybe topped off, maybe the more confident style of just keeping your position. You had to save 3 to 4 laps of fuel. Those get aggressive on the fuel mileage saving, and both are fielded a pretty similar strategy there, Justin. And it looks like those are up front. They are racing very confident.
Yeah, we have so many strategies coming into this race that it's hard to keep track of them all, but we're doing a pretty good job here talking about them all. And I think the big thing is going to be is if you're not, you have to know by now if you can make it to the end or if you think you at least have a chance. I feel like if you're saving fuel and you don't think you can make it to the end by now, I mean, how much time are you willing to give up? Or are you just going to go in and get those tires? You have to really know what you think the rest of the field's going to do. And right now, Tom Sinchek, he knows he just wants to go to the front. We were on board with him. We saw him shifting. I would imagine he's not worried about fuel if he's shifting. I mean, he either has in his mind that he's going to run it until the end and just go in and get a splash of gas, or maybe he still thinks he can make it on fuel.
Or could be going with the mentality of, I'm going to run this thing dry and bank on a caution to come out. That could be another strategy for some of these drivers. As you were talking, change for the lead position. Tom Sinchek back to the top spot as our pole sitter is feeling very confident. And one thing that's actually interesting, looking at the stats coming into tonight's race, this racetrack has been ran 5 times in the past, back in season 2, 4, 5, 7, and 8. And those drivers that won, none of them were the pole sitter for the race. This could be the first time that we see that with the way we're seeing Tom Sinchek running here tonight, as it looks like he has been given the go button. It's time to try to build a gap. Ryan Kelly blinking, and he's been blinking since the practice session opened up an hour before the race, and he's open to maybe calm that down here late in this run. But before this race is over, we do have a major shout out. We want to say thank you to Trophy Smack, the championship trophy provider of the WSSR. Trophy Smack can offer you pre-made or custom for your own choosing of championship belts, rings, trophies, and more. Head on over to trophysmack.com, and when purchasing, remember to use the promo code WSSR Smack for 10% off. Also, they've got other great items such as the wall smack, a metal plate you can put on their wall mounting safe magnet system, or you can put on a stand of your own choosing of an image, put on that metal plate, and you can display it. Some of the drivers have their winning moments, some have some burnouts, some have some low moments, or you can just find a logo that you like and go get your wall smack today. Remember, use the promo code WSSR Smack for that 10% off. Well, here we go, Justin. About to be 25 laps to go, and some of the drivers of note, again, drivers that topped off on fuel before we went back to green flag racing, being led by Aaron Smith, the second in 17th position. Everyone else that's inside of our top 24 yet to pit. Other drivers that topped off being Christopher Norris, Shane Terry, and Tom Bourne. They're going to try their best to catch up, but it's really been our top 5 that have spaced out pretty good. The driver on the move currently, GT Rosari, he's up to 4th.
Yeah, I'm glad you just brought him up. I was just thinking, too, how we need to get on board and see what he's doing right now, because he's driving to this front right here. Let's hear if we hear any kind of fuel saving, or is he going hard in gear 4? You see right there in the telemetry, going to get up there in the 5th gear right there after the finish line. So if these drivers right now, this late into the run, they have to feel like they are able to run hard, use 4th gear, and not, maybe they're just not worried about fuel. Or like you said, Sam, I think maybe some of them are going to run it until there's 5-6 laps to go and bank on that caution.
And based off the numbers we were given, again, these drivers around 67 to 69 was looking to be the window. You could try to stretch it a little bit further if you went extreme fuel saving, and most of the field, we saw that early on, was trying to fuel save to stretch out their fuel. their last pit stop around lap about 70 to 78 to 80 was for some of these drivers, which is just outside that window. But if you can somehow escape away with 3, maybe 4 laps of fuel saving, you could find yourself in a victory lane or with a solid finish. One driver we know is fully confident. That's Aaron Smith II. He has been on go mode. He's been given the green light to go full bore and not really saving too much fuel for the past 6 laps. Shane Tarian, on the other hand, right behind the 70, similar situation. He's been running a little bit more aggressive during this run. The 9 is in a position where I'm a little bit more nervous for himself. Christopher Norris has been the most aggressive driver that topped off on fuel. I'm not feeling great on where he's going to finish for this race, but he's going to try his best to stay attached to the likes of Tarian and also Aaron Smith. But you can see Tarian being passed by the 77 machine of Drew Jua, and Jua, he's going to be thinking about pit stops if he hasn't saved enough fuel, but it seems like the 77 has been in the fuel save mode. But tackling with these tires is where it seems like the struggle's at now.
Yeah, the struggle of the old tires for sure. I mean, you definitely save the fuel, but if you don't have the tires and can't get the car through the corner, how much time can you gain? We now have under 20 laps to go, and this track is still hot, still slick, hard to get a handle on. But the drivers right now, as you see right there, 109 degrees, so this track's still very hot.
A little bit of trouble in the middle of the group around 7th place. Zach Hull entering turn 4, checked up a ton. Got Gavin Rogers rear-ending the 32 a little bit. Big loser, though, was the 8 machine of Ryan McCann, who lost over 4 positions, trying to get out of the way to continue to stay green. But some drivers seem to be having some extreme let-off moments and spots where they're trying to save fuel, and that seems to be Zach Hull's mindset still, is saving fuel.
Yeah, saving fuel, I think probably one of the easiest corners to do it in. Not that it's ever easy, but maybe 3 and 4. Get down there, utilize that panking, and try and maybe get in there, clutch it, quick shut it off for a blitz second. But it's hard when you got the likes of Cedric Hunter right behind you and other drivers right behind you. It's just so hard to save that fuel. But and then the other opportunity, maybe down in 1 and 2. As long as you can get down to that bottom, don't want to let drivers get behind you. But it's hard to save fuel and go fast.
It certainly is, and involved in that incident, Brian McCann, he will pull it into pit road, gonna get service for tires, fuel, and it looks to be damage repair for the 8. He's got a long hold for himself. There's no black flag. McCann might be calling it a night here as he is still in pit road, and if we stay green, his run completely stunted it over.
Yeah, not good for him. You see right here, the 11, we're on board with him. John Forbes, 6th position, trying to get up there around Ryan Kelly. Looks like he has some damage in front of the car. Maybe the front nose looks like it's a little pushed in there. Not sure if that's going to help him at all going down the front straightaway, and it's not going to help him save fuel either.
It's not, and that damage is from earlier on in the race. I believe that was during stage 1 of the first 35 laps of this race. John Forbes collected that front end damage, has been working around, trying to find ways to kind of work with that damage if he's got it, but currently has not been able to really find any ways of getting more damage repair for himself. As Ryan Kelly's starting to get ran down, same for Vincent Sora, as GT Rosari has climbed up to 3rd place. What a run for the 14, but it seems like Cedric Hunter is the true fastest driver right now. The 13 Hello Kitty machine is trying to make his way forward, but also we're starting to see a little bit of traffic of drivers that pitted earlier with their fresher rubber. They're going to be coming through this lead pack as the pass for 2nd place. Irizarry is going to be making the move to the inside. The biggest spoiler could be the 14 this evening. 16 laps to go as the 14 is now 2.5 seconds back from Tom Senchek.
Got that new shiny metallic paint scheme, like you said, showing up on the iRacing graphics, and now it's brought this car to life. He's under 2.5 seconds trying to run down to 26 of Tom Senchek. Both of these drivers, I'm assuming they are not saving fuel anymore if they're going to be running this hard. I think these drivers have to know what they have left in the tank with 15 to go so they know if they can push it or not. Some of these drivers felt like they're good to go. Others are still backing off and saving, but it's putting on a show. 2.5 seconds. Will the 14 run down to 26?
A lot of work needs to be done if he wants to get it over with, or is Tom Senchek in the much better position so far in this race. There is some battles starting to get a little bit more action mounted up. It's really the battling going on for 5th, 6th, and 7th position. They're going 3 wide into turn number 3. It's Cedric Hunter on the inside. He'll take the position, passing 2 for 1. John Forbes still trying to find a way to get by Ryan Kelly, but Kelly holds strong on the outside, and Kelly might be able to get back those positions back for himself as he drag races across the line into turn 1. It is Cedric Hunter, though. Like we talked about right before we went to talk to GT Rosari, one of the fastest drivers on track is the 13. Only problem, he's 4 seconds, almost 4.5 seconds back from Tom Sinchek.
4.5 seconds back, but if he's got the fuel and he knows he can drive it hard, he's going to utilize shifting, everything to try and get around these guys. As you see a little blinking going on in front. Ryan Kelly, he was just running up inside the top 3 and now back to 5th. So maybe he's not as sure about making it on fuel. Maybe he's trying to roll back a little bit. But I tell you what, you cannot save fuel when you're running side by side. A side draft will slow you down, stall you out, burn more fuel. So I'm not exactly sure what the strategy play is right here. So much going on.
Again, these drivers, the window we were given was from 67 to 69 laps on fuel. They're going to try to stretch it out a little bit further than that if possible. But if we're going to see drivers that failed at saving fuel, it's going to be around 4 to 3 laps to go is when we might be seeing drivers start to putter, start to slow down, and really struggle to make it to the end of this race. We've got ourselves our top 23 drivers that are attempting to stretch the fuel. And will it be Tom Sinchek, or will it be the strength of the 70 machine or the 77 back in 12th and 13th that also are running just as fast as Cedric Hunter? And they've got a lot more fuel to save that they saved up and working with as they go to the outside.
So many options, so much to figure it out, but under 10 laps to go. We're going to find out really shortly. If this race stays green, it'll be really fun to see who did what strategy play was the one to go with. The 70, we know he's probably definitely good on fuel, but not good on track position right now. He's going to drive to the inside, get around Kanata, try and get around Andrew Medlin. Going to come out of the corner, maybe get a little run here. He's going to get a little drafting help behind. Noel pushing him. Going to try and move inside that top 10 spot, but up front, nothing's changed other than Tom Sinchek is now checked up to a 3.2 second lead. Oh, they're going to get close coming out of that corner. If they were going to get a caution, that was the moment I thought we might have got it.
Yeah, I mean, like you noted on, this is a group that if we're going to see a caution, it's going to be from this pack. They are still 2-3 wide, and Joshua Kanata is really struggling at this moment, seeing his other playoff contenders blitzing by this 16, but seeing drivers every time off the exit of the corner getting closer and closer to that outside wall, or trying to crank on the wheel to pull it down from hitting the wall. They're getting close to making contact, but that battle for the lead, you can throw it out the window. Tom Sinchek is on autopilot mode. He is flying. Cedric Hunter has closed down the distance down to just 4 seconds. It's only a half second these last couple of laps. Needs a lot more work. But Kanata, Medlin, oh, hold your breath as the 16 and 12 get close. Ken Campbell also trying to figure out a way to get by, and for Andrew Medlin, he's got the fresher tires for the 12, but the confidence isn't there. Teammate of Storm Motorsports, Ken Campbell, though, is getting Kanata a little bit nervous in the mirror, and the 16 drifts a little bit too high, has to back out, and Storm Motorsports are swarming Kanata now.
Storming by, the 16, he was losing about 3 or 4 spots in the last couple laps, and that's just valuable points. And importantly, he got out, got a lap led, so that bonus point will help him, but he needs all the points he can get. This is not what he wants to happen in these final 7 laps, but I tell you, right now, Tom Sinchek, he has to either feel like he's making it to the end. He's now got a 4-second lead. Everyone else just seems like they went into max fuel saving mode here, that they're dropping away. I don't know what he's thinking. Maybe he knows he's good. Oh, I thought we were going to have a caution there to 74-16. That was a moment there, Sam. Wow.
It just is every lap getting more and more dangerous. This is the longest green flag run the field has had so far. They are in a position where the tires are screaming for fresh rubber. These vehicles know we're coming to the end, but fuel is calling, and it's calling for, oh no, into pit road is Tom Sinchek. He did not have the fuel. Oh my goodness. Pit road calls also for GT Rosari. This is the drama we've been waiting for, Justin. 6, make it 5 laps to go. Who's got the fuel? We know the 70 does. Does Cedric Hunter, who's been burning off all his fuel, flying around this course? Does Hello Kitty have enough?
You have to think with 5 laps to go, Senchak pushed as hard as he could the whole time, so he wasn't saving at all, we would imagine. But if anyone else saved, did they save 5 laps worth of fuel? So now we kind of get the idea. They were able to go all but 5 laps on fuel. These drivers now, 4 to go. Cedric Hunter, now he's got a 1 second lead over the 11. He could lift a little bit getting in the corner, try and conserve a little bit of fuel. But more importantly, will he just stay in 5th gear? You see him, he's still in 5th gear, did not choose to go down in the 4th, so he's trying to save that fuel, but the 11's going to be pushing down. We're going to be coming to 3 to go. There's Tom Senchak blending in.
And looking at other drivers again, Aaron Smith the second now is only 2.8 seconds back, but he's got a huge gap between our leaders, Cedric Hunter, Tom Senchak, side by side, as Snowy Desert Racing being pressured by that nightmare fuel machine, but able to blitz through. Senchak, what a bizarre time. We thought maybe he had the fuel with how big of a gap he had. Instead, pit road was calling for himself. We are now 3 laps to go. This is the zone where we knew you are in no man's land. Did you save enough, or are you about to run out of fuel or be sent to pit road? Cedric Hunter, 2 laps to go for Hello Kitty to punch his ticket to the championship round, or could it be John Forbes, Brian P. Johnson, Vincent Sora? Here we go, Justin. Again, every lap, every moment, we don't know if they can make it.
No, we don't, but coming 1.5 to go now. You do not want to run out of fuel. If you pass pit road, this is your last chance. If you don't enter now, you cannot pay. By the next time by, you're going to run out of fuel. It's 13. Is he going to get through? Is he slowing down? Nope, still going strong coming out of the corner. Here we go, 1 to go.
He's got a second to try to blow up if possible, but Cedric Hunter, driver that won this race back in season 5, the last time they ran with this vehicle on this track combination, it wasn't fuel mileage during that run, but a few drivers are starting to putter. Danny Cochran's one of the bigger ones. He's starting to fall off, but up front, Cedric Hunter can try to coast it from here, but John Forbes is still hounding on that back bumper. You can't just let up fully, but off the exit of turn 4, Hunter looks good. He hits the throttle. He still can accelerate. Cedric Hunter will race for a championship. Hello Kitty wins at Charlotte.
And Brian, he's out of fuel right now. We don't hear any sound. John Forbes is going to get 2nd. Vincent Sora 3rd. Ryan Kelly 4th. Aaron Smith all the way up to 5th. So topping off on fuel did end up paying off for him. He got the dividends paid.
Able to climb all of that time for the 70 machine. And drivers that have fuel are able to come up and could do some congratulational taps. Others are coming to a complete stop off of 2 because they don't have the fuel to get to pit road. Oh my goodness. I mean, looking at the pace that Cedric Hunter had there late, he was looking very similar to Tom Senchak. I thought Cedric, with how fast he was running to get into the position he was at, maybe he didn't have enough, but he certainly does have enough to do some burnouts. Hello, Kitty. Hello for a chance for a championship once again. Cedric Hunter wins the first race of the round of 11, the only driver of our 11 that made it into this round that know their fate entering into next week. John Forbes going to take 2nd, Vincent Sora 3rd, and for us, we will step away. When we come back, we'll talk to our top 3 and a spotlight driver right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the WSSR Cup Series. A brand new round, the round of 11. After this round, we see the 6 drivers that will race for a championship. Well, one has been solidified. Barely made it into the next round. Felt like maybe there was a risk there. Makes it into the round of 11, and with early troubles. Seems like this is his MO to get into victory lane. Wheel spin early, and then finds himself into victory lane with a gutsy call on the fuel mileage. We've got the 13 of Cedric Hunter with us. Cedric, I mean, what a storyline for yourself here tonight. It seems like some of your most memorable wins always come from these types of early mistakes to then great heights at the end. How are you feeling after tonight's performance?
Oh, my mic was muted. Rip. I feel so good. Obviously we get to win very often, so to get a win and it being in the playoffs is huge for me. Like you said, I guess, obviously I had that wheel spin there on lap 1. Really wasn't expecting the car to do that. I was super happy with my qualifying run. Like, I really wanted to pole. I wanted to break my streak. I'd never gone to pole in this league, and it's been over 100 races, and I was so close tonight. And it felt like a decent pace, I guess, for the stage. Like, I pushed in maybe a little bit too hard. That at the end of that round lap, probably 25-30ish, my pace really fell off, and I got passed by a bunch of people. So was kind of down on myself, I would say, in the middle portion of that race. I kind of just felt like I was just washed and bad, and I guess luckily for me that we had a caution that came around there, the final one that turned the race away from just straight pace and into a little bit of strategy and obviously a fuel mileage. So I took it easy. Like, I kind of just ran my own race. I didn't really feel like I saved any fuel that run. I guess I was just slow, so I guess that's beneficial. And I think a lot of guys too were probably clutching there the second half of the last run, which kind of killed the right front, and I was just lifting a little bit, coasting, and trying to get on the gas a little bit later and saving in that way, and it really helped save our tires there, drive through the field. So man, I'm so happy of getting a win. I'm talking way too much, but like, I am pumped for this.
Hey, Cedric, we're pumped for you. So happy to see you get up there and get that win. Go in there and I mean, now how you feeling? You're gonna be not too stressed, I guess, the next of this week. And just a quick second question is: were you running in 5th gear that whole final run to try and save fuel mentally, or was that just your comfort zone, or were you also shifting? Because just when we got on board with you, we didn't notice really you shifting at that moment.
No, I was just in 5th, and just trying to kind of stretch out or lower, get the RPMs as low as possible. So obviously, I'm not going to shift if I want to do that. And I don't know, I did a decent amount of practice yesterday with Zach, and I mean, he was lights out, way faster than me even tonight, way quicker. But I felt like when I was shifting, like normally you'd want to shift, I guess, in the later, maybe the last 15-20 laps of a run. But tonight, I think it's just probably because I had so much right front saved up in the last run that I didn't really need to shift. Yeah, I mean, if it was just a straight pace race, there's no way I would have won that. I would probably finished, I would say, I'd probably have top 15 car, but that's about it.
I mean, it's the joys of racing, right? You need a little bit of luck to get yourself in a victory lane sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And Cedric, you get the win. Now you're locked in for the championship. What are you hoping to learn next week to prepare for that championship round?
Yeah, I mean, Richmond is not, one of my best tracks. I would even say it's one of my good tracks or decent tracks. We're still going to go there. I'm going to practice a lot, try and get Zach in or get him kind of hooked up and comfortable so he can lock himself into the next round as well. But I still have to figure out how, the short track package with these cars and the shifting, because I assume, I haven't done any practice yet, but I assume we're probably going to have to shift at Richmond and also North Wilkesboro in the final round. So if I can get better at short track racing, then hopefully they'll set us up pretty comfortably in the championship round.
Well, Cedric, congratulations on this win. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
I appreciate it, guys. I want to give you guys a huge shout out, all the fans out there for tuning in, everybody that wished me a good win or told me a good win after that race. All the drivers that came out tonight, my fellow admins as well, uh, and my teammates. Obviously, Chris, Nick, and Zach. Shout out to Zach too. You got really good stage points and a top 10 finish. I'm pretty sure he's in a very good spot for next week. But like I said, we're going to work our best this upcoming week to try and get him there. I'm fully confident that he'll be able to get there, and hopefully we go race for a championship here in about 3 weeks.
We cannot believe the way that that race went down, but congratulations, Cedric, on saving enough fuel to get yourself into victory lane. Enjoy this win. Good luck next week, and ultimately, good luck hunting that championship in 2 weeks.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
As we move from victory lane, we go down to second place to a driver that thought maybe it was going to line up into his hands, instead falls to second. John, fuel mileage was the key there late. We kind of telegraphed that that was what was happening all throughout that last run. Man, what was going through your mind in those final 10 laps when you started to notice, okay, it's go time, and a few of our front runners started to pull off into pit road?
Yeah, it was really weird the whole time because our fuel was showing us like 6 laps short going into the run. So we're like, oh, me and Kyle were like, there's no way we can save all that. Let's just go all out. Hope we get a caution. So we get like 15 laps in the run, and then crew chief Kanata comes to my ear. He's like, oh, I think we can save it. But at this point, he's like, he wasn't going as fast as I was, so he was like 4 laps better to the good than I was. So I was like, oh no, I really got to start saving. So kind of fell off from the pack, and I was getting that. I was getting like 0.6 gallons a lap saved, or like the lap projected thing. So I did that for a while, and then I would try to make a pass on Ryan Kelly a few times and instantly lose everything I just gained. I'd be right back on the bubble again. So it was kind of just managing that the whole time. And I had Kanata in my ear, like, all right, we need 24 at the line, 19 at the line. So I think I had 0.1 when I crossed the finish line, kind of like Road America and the trucks the other week. So that was some good preparation there. But yeah, just to save here, you really just had to let off early. It wasn't like too bad of a race to have to do that at. I mean, with how tight these cars are, letting off early regardless is going to help the turn later. But the hard part was on the exit because it gets so tight, and you're like, man, I don't want to use the throttle right now, but I have to, or else I'm probably going to hit the wall, or it's just not going to turn like I want it to, or you're just going to use the tires up. So it was definitely a fine balance. And I saw like Zach was saving really hard at the start of the run. And I was like, okay, I mean, I thought it was just like his pace falling off at the time. I was like, all right, he just doesn't have the short run pace. We'll see how it goes. And then all of a sudden, I just see all of them in my mirror just coming up, and they'd already gotten past Kanata. I was like, oh man, they saved really good. I went too hard at the start. And then Cedric got past me, and then they just kind of dropped off behind me. So I was like, all right, we're sitting in second right now. The leaders had to definitely save. Got through all of them. It was a little scary passing Ryan. Slid up in front of him and got the wall a little bit, but yeah, then the last couple of laps, I was like, all right, I think I was kind of catching Cedric, and then I quickly just started falling off again. Just that he just saved a lot better. But overall, I mean, I can't complain with a P2 at the end of this thing. Got stage points from a terrible qualifying run, so I think I'm sitting in a pretty good spot for next week. I think I'm just going to need a solid run, just kind of similar to this week, so looking forward to it.
John, congrats on that second place. Like you said, you got the stage points, and the second place finish going to be sitting nice for next week going in Richmond. But just want to talk to you right now on screen here. I can still see that front end damage. Did you even know you had front end damage? And did it affect the car?
It might have affected it a little bit, but for the most part, I couldn't really tell. I think that happened on pit road when like that sandwich happened, and I need to go look at that. I don't know if it was them just checking up too hard in front of me or me checking up too hard, but yeah, it was. I wasn't sure how it was going to affect it. I think I had like 12 seconds when I got to pit road on that stop, and they got down to like 10.5. But yeah, overall, I don't think it hurt it too bad. Maybe tightened it up a little bit, but I mean, not too noticeable overall.
I mean, John, with this run, we're waiting for official confirmation, but this really does help you points wise going into Richmond. What is the confidence going into Richmond next week, and how do you feel like next week could help carry you on if you make it to the championship round at North Wilkesboro?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty similar tracks, I'd say, with just, being a short track. But I think it's just going to be staying out of trouble. It seems to be pretty chaotic no matter what league you're in or whatever. It's always going to be chaotic at a short track. And with how tight these cars usually are, I haven't done too much practice there yet, but we're going to see how it goes. But, I usually run pretty good at those tracks. usually top 3 at Richmond. North Wilkesboro is kind of up in the air. So yeah, just gonna need to get some practice in, and I'm looking forward to those races though.
Well, we cannot wait to see how you're going to perform in these upcoming weeks, John. Before we let you go, though, the floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
Yeah, just gotta thank JDF Performance Mods being on board all season. eFlex Fuel, always supporting me. Great partners on board. And then we got Justin making the schemes for me. Unfortunately, he got wrecked out pretty early in this one, which sucked. He put some practice into this one, and he almost outqualified me, which I mean, it's progress. So gotta keep him going the next couple weeks, and maybe he'll get some good runs out of these things. And for you guys for putting on these broadcasts.
Well, thank you for giving us such a great show to call here tonight. That'll be your second place finisher in the 11 machine of John Forbes. John, enjoy this one and good luck next week.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
You too. As we move from second place, we go down to third, where we bring in the 51 of Vincent Sora. And at one moment, it was a 1-2-3 for Nightmare Fuel. Vinny, what happened there? Because it seemed like you guys were in complete control up front, backed off for a little bit, and then just never were able to recover. What was going on with the team there late?
Yeah, I mean, it turned into a fuel save race, which we knew it was gonna after the wreck on like lap 75 or 6. But it seems like usually the opposite of what any of us do turns out to be the right thing to do. So at first we were just kind of banking on a late race yellow coming out, so we started pushing, and then we all kind of started saving fuel. I think Tom, he was just going for a win and banking on a yellow, so I don't think he saved it all, just because he's not in a point situation anymore. But Brian and I, we knew that we needed to back off and start saving fuel, so we just did it a little too late, pushed a little too hard too early, and let the guys just have a little bit more in their tank at the end.
Vincent, congrats on that third place finish. Going to help you out with the points. Talk to us about the incident you had earlier in the race with the accident. I mean, it seemed like a heavy type accident, but then you didn't really have too much damage, and it seemed like the car drove fine. So just curious if these cars are still really strong and absorb impact really well.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely tanks. I kind of like always, we get to around the stage and I just get wrecked for no reason. I don't know. I just kind of got ran over and then hit by like 2 or 3 other people, like always. And I had like 40 seconds of damage, and the toe was actually knocked out of it for the whole race. After that, it was driving a little bit offset to the right. But yeah, overall, I think the damage was fine. These things can take a hit like a champ, as long as you don't really knock the toe out of it. So thankfully, it didn't completely kill my race.
I mean, that's impressive, the fact that you come away with the top 3, even with that damage, Vinny. And now we head to Richmond next week, talking about keeping yourself out of trouble. How do you feel like you can even do that at a short track that everyone's pretty much on top of one another all race long?
I just need to control the race like I have in the past at Richmond, in this league and in other leagues. Unfortunately, I can't qualify over here anymore. Everyone is kind of cheesing, and I'm not very familiar with how to do it properly. And with the new replay feature, we got to see everybody do it in action. So I qualify 16th every week and then slowly just drive my way through the field, which will be really, really hard to do at a place like Richmond. So I need to figure it out and hopefully qualify at the front and dominate another one.
Well, talking about some of those cheeses, I know we got to see a couple of them during our watching them qualify. So if you want to see a couple attempts at it, there's a few different strategies that we got to see. But Vinny, before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
Yeah, shout out to Cedric for saving fuel as good as he did there. He did it way better than anybody else, and it paid off for him. Shout out to all my teammates at Nightmare Fuel. I think we're still in a pretty good point situation to second place, so hopefully we get the team championship. Shout out to you guys for broadcasting and everybody in the league that makes it possible.
Well, that will be your third place finisher here tonight in the 51 of Vincent Sora. Vinny, enjoy this one, and good luck next week, and good luck trying to make it to the championship round.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
You too. As we move from third place, we'll drop down to 5th, where we talk to the driver that, honestly, watching from the start of that green flag run to the checkered flag, we had a good feeling he was going to make it to the end. It was all about everyone else, and we've got Aaron Smith, the second, with us. Aaron, we knew, based off of what we even saw last week, you're great at saving fuel and having tires at the end. Were you shocked by the amount of drivers that were able to make it to the end, though, at the end of this race?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I felt like I was saving as hard as I could there at the beginning of that run. I fell back to about 12 seconds behind the leaders, and then suddenly I was 3 seconds behind them again. I was certain they were going to run out with how long I was going, but yeah, and unfortunately it didn't work out in my favor. But P5 is still pretty good.
Aaron, it is. P5 was great. You came on strong at the end. I guess my question would be is when you topped off, you must have mentally been thinking that the whole field wasn't going to make it if it stayed green. Was there a point in a race where you were starting to think, oh, you know what, I'm pretty good. I got a couple extra laps to spare. They're probably going to have an extra couple laps. Is that when you decide to turn it on?
No, not really. I was saving the entire time. Like I only had about a lap and a half left when I crossed the start-finish line there at the end. But yeah, I guess they were doing a lot better than I was there at the end. It sounded like they were running hard for the first 15 laps and then starting to roll into the corner without the clutch and saving their tires a little bit, gaining a bit of extra speed on me because I know I plateaued at about 8 seconds when I started coming back up through the field. And then I guess they started saving again toward the end, and that's what got me those last 5 seconds. So it'll be interesting to see what that data kind of helps me out with in these next few weeks.
These next few weeks, it's fighting for that championship. Aaron, it looks like points have been updated. You are tied on that bubble spot in 6th place with Cedric, which with his win would bounce you out. What is the mentality heading into Richmond next week with the fact that you are going to be one of the first drivers outside looking in?
Yeah, shoot. After how good of a night I had, I thought I'd be a little further in than that. But yeah, I'll try to take the same approach as this week. Get a good qualifying lap, kind of stay around the front for the whole race, and maybe save some fuel if it really comes to that. But if I have anywhere near as good of a night as I did tonight, I'll be making it in that top 6. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we are excited to see how you're going to perform next week, Aaron. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the folks here at the World Series of Sim Racing for having me this season and putting on all these really good races, as well as all the folks in the field for putting on a great race tonight and letting us go green all the way to the end, unlike last week. And I'd like to thank y'all for broadcasting and all the folks for watching. Looking forward to getting back at it wherever we are next week. It's Richmond,
Now,
isn't it?
yeah, Richmond's going to be a fun one to watch. That will be the 70 machine of Aaron Smith II, part of the Lucky Ducks Motorsports crew. What a run for yourself, Aaron. Cannot wait to see how you perform next week. And good luck on trying to make it to the championship round.
All right, thank you.
As we move away from our interviews here tonight, still shocking to look at how this race turned out. And the big shocker going to be the points looking into next week. It is looking to be from around 3rd to that first bubble spot. It's a 5-point difference. And then from, you can say, 2nd all the way down to 8th is going to be 7 points difference between those spots. So it's going to be less than 10 points difference that these drivers are going to be on top of one another heading into next week. But one driver that's solidified is Cedric Hunter. And we take a look at our unofficial results as he takes the gold here tonight. The win that locks him in, and John Forbes going to slot himself into 2nd position. Going to also see Vincent Sora in 3rd. 4th is Ryan Kelly. Aaron Smith 2nd. 5th. 6th is Gavin Rogers. Brian P. Johnson 7th place. 8th is Zach Hall. Drew Jua 9th. And finishing out our top 10 is Ken Campbell with a great run for himself. I think he'll enjoy a top 10 finish with some of the bad luck he's had this season. But Justin, looking at the rest of the field, I mean, there are some drivers that are just going to hate the way that this race went down, especially those that were wanting a good run, but just it never came to them.
Yeah, looking there right there in 14th, Joshua Kanata, we saw him up front early, leading some laps, getting some stage points. Luckily, he got the stage points there. I believe he finished 5th, but getting a 14th place finish, he was hoping probably for more after the early run he had going. Then you got to just drop it down in 22nd. Tom Senchek, I mean, we thought he was going to take this win, driving up there, but then before you know it, had to go and get the tires. GT Rosari, same exact situation. Showed great speed at the end of the race, but just unfortunately ran out of fuel. Then he dropped some further down there on the list. Cody Reed, 27th, after leading laps early. The tires just gave up and he started falling through the field. Douglas Newbig, we saw him have that incident. And then you go down to some of those drivers. Justin Forbes, we kind of gave him that broadcaster jinx, unfortunately, early in the race, but had the nice qualifying effort. So looking forward to seeing him back on track and improve.
Yeah, the improvements are always going to be fun to watch these drivers. Sometimes it's just in one season we see the improvements. Sometimes it's multiple seasons. But again, like Justin just said, sorry, Justin, for the commentator's curse that we might have placed on you. But for us here tonight, That's going to be concluding our WSSR coverage, but we got plenty of other great racing action tomorrow night. It'll be our last of the week for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. Those next-gen drivers getting ready for tomorrow night's race. Then come back next week. We're right back to having 4 races a week, Monday through Thursday, with ISRC Truck Series, the Challenger Racing Series on Tuesday and Wednesday, right back here to crown who's going to be the top 6 drivers to race for a championship. That championship round is going to be intense with North Wilkes-Barre and Las Vegas, but they first have to march their way through Richmond, which Richmond in the past in WSSR, Justin, has been crazy races, wild finishes. It's come down to sometimes the final 15 laps before we really know who could be winning a race or surviving at the end of the day. I think next week might give us a similar story based off of kind of the finishes we've seen these last few races.
Oh, it definitely will, and it'll be one of those situations where you'll hear both of us saying you got to be there at the end of the race to have a chance to win. So next week will be dramatic for certain. Richmond gonna be super fun. Got to get there though. Got to be at the end. Cannot get caught up in an accident.
Cannot. Got to survive to be there. But for us here tonight, thank you so much for joining with us on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. For all those that subscribed, we appreciate those. Those that just commented, we appreciate as well. And if you're just watching and enjoying the broadcast, thank you so much for cheering on the drivers that race week in and week out here for the WSSR Cup Series. But for us here at Freaky Fast, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Justin Malarkey, for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for watching and joining with us this evening. We cannot wait for next week. Richmond's going to be a blast to see who moves on to the Championship 6. But if you want more great racing before then, we got you covered. Tomorrow night, we find ourselves with the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a good one. We'll see you on our next Freaky Fast broadcast.